you guys enjoyed it. Just one question for you guys. What did you think about the first episode? Do you feel like we're going through a digital sexual revolution currently? Let us know. So, guys, everyone, my name's Holly.
You guys, Holly. Let's just calm our nerves for a second. This is supposed to be a laid back podcast, and you guys are getting me all. Robbie P, thank you for the raid. This is supposed to be recreational. Exactly, it's supposed to be laid back and fun, and you guys have us all like tense. You guys are really giving us a negative energy. Like, of course we have technical support issues. Like, of course it happens. This is a peek of just what it's like behind the scenes, and we're doing it all on our own. You know, a lot of these productions like this will have an entire team of several people.
Yeah, a lot of these people have like a whole dog and pony show. We don't have that.
So true.
Exactly.
Let's smoke for a second. Let's chill our nerves.
Please saying slurs is not okay. I never fucking said it was okay. I never said it was okay. I don't fucking say slurs. Leave me alone. It's past your fucking bedtime. Holy fuck, shouldn't you be texting Dream? Leave me alone.
Feel bad, apologize.
Fuck.
What's wrong with
I'm trying to do a podcast.
You all made fun of Dream, and I can't believe you would do that to him. Why do you think that you would do that, and that would ever be a good idea? Don't you feel bad? You banned me after I called you out. Now I do it here. One question, Emma. How does it feel to be on the outside looking in? It hurts, doesn't it? I think someone's a little bit jealous. You know, and I hate to call it.
Facts are facts. You know, it's jealousy. You know, jealousy is a disease in which I say get well soon.
So, yeah, welcome everybody to, we already did this thing. This is the Recreational Use Podcast. Every Wednesday we get together and we talk about something. We're going to get more serious soon, but before we get serious, because once we get serious, it's going to get really serious.
Yeah, just a little bit of a heads up to everybody. Our episode today will, you know, contain a lot of explicit content. So for real, this is a real trigger warning. This will contain, you know, sexual content, abuse, domestic violence, all of the above. So, you know, gather close and, you know, and listen careful. But, you know, before we get into that, let's just kind of go ahead and let's just talk about some other things going on.
Yeah, let's talk about some other things going on. First of all, I want to say we are all live, so check out all of our streams.
So true.
Exclamation Holly in the chat and exclamation Sean in the chat for a link to their streams. No, yes, please, we deserve it. We worked really hard on this. But yeah, there's a lot going on right now. First of all, Holly is doing some remodeling. They scraped a popcorn ceiling today.
Yeah, no, I'm in a lot of pain, but honestly, I can feel my shoulder muscles and like, what is that? Like the trapezius? Or is that the traps where I have the fat that kind of hangs down like right here? Right there. I can feel.
Whenever you said that, I was like, why is she talking about, like, I was thinking you were talking about, like, trapeze artists, like, in circus or something. I'm like, why is she going there with this?
See, the first thing I thought of was Black Swan.
And, you know, you say trapeze, I think Jennifer Lopez. Like, it's crazy how our minds go. I thought dancer's body. J-Lo. That's what came to mind. I mean, I guess there has been, you know, quite a bit that has happened recently. But, you know, we kind of discussed that. And since we're going to be covering some really heavy subjects already, We're not going to really discuss some of the other horrible things that are going on right now, just because we don't feel like we're the people best equipped to, for one. And we discussed that we think it would be best that this issue would have its own full segment. So that is not something we're going to be discussing. We're just going to start off with some light, kind of fluffy topics, some things going on in our personal lives. Sean, I'm going to pass it on to you. What's going on with you, hun?
Well, really quick, guys. I don't know. They're saying they can't hear you. And I'm just like, oh my god, you're kidding me.
Do you need to add a desktop
on
sound?
Micah?
Wait, what was it?
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, that's true.
Wait, hold on. You guys both talked.
Fuck. Okay.
Okay, so click the plus button. I'll go do it real quick.
The plus button.
You might have to add it in through Files, Settings. You know how I showed you last time to add in like your microphone?
Yeah.
Go to File Settings.
It's not that. It's just this laptop. Every time I touch it, it goes transparent, and I can't see anything on the screen, to even read it. Okay, hold on.
Oh, Gemma, thank you for the 12-month sub. Oh, I see we got a primer here. Thank you so much for the prime. Just so you guys know, we have been talking about coordinating some prime movie nights. You know, the crew.
Well, we're supposed to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, so we have some big things planned.
Cheyenne,
hold on, so it's File, and then what do I do?
Hold on, let me go check it out really quick. Can we watch Ma? I don't think that's on the Amazon.
Ma isn't on Amazon. Don't worry, you guys. I fucking searched. Okay, I looked over Watch Party, and the first thing I fucking did is I typed Lindsay Lohan to see if there were any Lindsay Lohan movies. There weren't. Then I typed Hilary Duff to see if there were any Hilary Duff movies. There weren't. Then I typed Amanda Bynes to see if there were any Amanda Bynes movies, and it was only Sydney White, which I did suggest. I was like, maybe we should watch this Amanda Bynes
Sydney
movie.
White.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh.
But don't worry, you guys. I had the girls and the gays in mind.
Isn't this just like so difficult to navigate?
Is it working?
Can you guys hear Casey and Holly now?
I think Casey might be muted because she's coughing. But it's one of these. It might be off. I am not muted.
Okay, there we go.
Do you have to wake up early tomorrow, Sean?
No.
Okay. Wait, do you have off tomorrow too?
Casey, I'll text you about it.
Oh, there you go.
I'm like, but no, I'm off tomorrow.
Oh, good.
So I'm just like, Oh, period. Okay. All right. All right. I think you guys can. All right. So we can hear everyone now. So, hey guys. Welcome back to my channel, sisters.
Okay, we got it. We fixed it. We did it. I mean, honestly, can you guys don't ever give me or anyone credit for that matter when it's due, and I just gotta say I've come a long way in my technology journey. That would have taken me probably 20 minutes. Just adding that source sound, a year ago. I've come a long way in my technology journey. Did I hear that DMX passed away?
Yes, there have been a lot of passings this week. From DMX to Prince Philip. He was 99 years old. A month ago, everyone wished him death and then he
got what they
died.
wished for.
So
and everyone
true.
is all of a sudden a martyr, and they're trying to cancel John Oliver because he made a joke about the passing of a bigoted racist who doesn't even live in the in the United States, who lived to 99. It's not like he died at
I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know.
He lived a full life.
I'm like,
I don't know. I'm sure it's very hard. Like, honestly, we don't know what it's like for them. It's probably so hard being royal and, you know, just having all eyes on you and people just
that's
having all
Harry
like,
left.
yeah,
he lived.
You're telling me you won't give me and my family security detail service the rest of my life? I'm out of here.
Period.
The rug was pulled out from under him, and he said, "I'm fucking out."
Well, they basically had to get security service on their own accord. If not, you know, they were worried for death. It's true.
They were worried about the Suits fans.
It's true. Honestly, my mind has just been so flooded by information of just different bullshit since that Oprah interview with Meghan Markle. I could barely tell you about it. I'm just like, that seems like a fucking year ago.
For
like,
real.
Jesus
that
Christ.
Seems like so long ago. Like, Meghan and Harry were sitting down with Oprah outside of her LA mansion.
Honestly, the only thing I really, truly can remember, just like verbatim, is the faces that Oprah was making.
The one thing that I can remember from the interview, like, my main takeaway was the part where they're like, oh yeah, Meghan and Harry were staying in Tyler Perry's guest home.
They were like, it turns out
they were?
Perry.
Yeah.
I only watched like highlights from this because it was like 2 hours, right?
It was,
yeah.
You know, was it not 4 hours? It felt like it was about 4 hours. I am okay, so I guess it was a 2 hour special.
I'd watch another.
It's just, you know, I think that well, and you know, the funeral for the princes are, you know, for Prince Philip is on, I think, Friday, and Meghan could not travel to the funeral because she's pregnant. So how excited do you think she was to pull that card? She's like, well, turns out I'm pregnant, can't go.
Well, and she also, I guess, said something along the lines of she didn't want to, you know, cause a scene or, you know, like, take the attention away because of her going.
In China when you come back.
So true, though. Meghan, like, I don't want to make jokes or anything, but she would have stolen the show. Like, I'm not trying to make a joke here. It's just the truth.
Yeah, she would have. Like, honestly, you know, the other thing that I was really just like, yeah, I knew that Kate Middleton was a fucking cunt.
No, I mean, it was always very clear whenever, you know, because every time they've, you know, whenever there's been a wedding with the royals, Lifetime has been the first, and honestly, quite frankly, probably the only to document the biography of the wedding, of the nuptials of these princes, and the aftermath of both, because, you know, it's been very popular. But, you know, there was a rumor that Lindsay Lohan was going to play Kate Middleton at one point.
Oh, wow.
And there was a rumor that Kate Middleton snubbed her nose. And it's just, she would be lucky.
Honestly, I think
Lindsay
dodged a bullet. Lindsay dodged a bullet, that's period.
Yeah, I'm like, you know, and honestly, I do feel like it would be wrong to cast Lindsay a redhead with a redheaded lover. I just feel like that's a no for me.
It's just too superior. Like that's like the rarest of rare getting together.
Yeah, it would be like a Just My Luck sequel, honestly. Like, people didn't even realize it was about Prince Harry or Prince William until, like, the credits. But there's been a lot of other big news. Yeah, DMX did pass away, unfortunately. Rest in peace, dog.
Yeah. He died,
You know, he leaves behind 15 children.
Wow.
Who I assume will be well taken care of. I know he was in bankruptcy and behind in child support when he died, but I know he was a very loving father, and I'm sure he did care for them in other ways.
Wait, DMX had 15 children?
15 children, yeah.
What the fuck?
You know, what's my name? You know.
Just, you know,
X gonna give it to you.
They're screaming dog down the street.
You know, X gonna give it to you. You know, it is like a really horrible thing. I think DMX did have a hard life, but I mean,
you know what?
He was like, I don't know. There was some things with his career choices I didn't particularly agree with. He was a little misogynistic and homophobic. He may have changed his ways towards the end. I don't know. I don't think that is any reason to wish death, but I'm like, it's bitter. You know, it's like, it's honestly like somebody, whenever you like really enjoyed their music whenever you were younger, and then like you look into who they were and you like re-listen to the song and you're like like, you know.
Wait, I'm like are we talking about Marilyn Manson or DMX right now?
Oh, we're talking about DMX.
Oh, like because that's kind of like our topic.
No, well, I was just saying I was listening to some DMX the other day and I was like, you know, I was kind of shocked by the lyrics. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't quite remember that.
That it does happen, like when you go and you watch like a movie from the 90s and you're like, wow, I don't remember all of these weird references to like pedophilia
and like homophobia is like was like a big thing in like 90s movies, early 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Holly and I were just watching we were actually rewatching season 1 of America's Next Top Model, and you know, Holly and I both remembered it quite well.
Tyra's been under fire. I saw Tyra was trending on Twitter recently for America's Next Top Model, and it being
yeah, it's not the first time, and it's like she's been repeatedly in hot water, and she's like, you know, Holly.
Do you want to explain what happened? Like, overall,
honestly, we think we should do a whole podcast over it.
I know we'll have to do a whole.
Because there's so many examples every single week.
We keep on doing this stuff where we're like, we'll have to do a show.
Well, okay, so Sean and I
told you 2000.
We watched the first 3 episodes and we were fucking mortified. We were just
with
the
like
first
the body
3
shaming and like the
everything,
the race, the
racism.
Honestly, it was so disappointing.
It's like everything that could be wrong with television. I mean, honestly, guys, if you haven't watched the show yet, watch it while you can, because it will be removed from platforms eventually.
We need to start archiving it before we don't have any copies.
And Tyra did make a statement that she wasn't going to remove any of it because she recognizes her...
Oh, it's not going to be her choice, honey.
Yeah, but she recognizes her faults. And she thinks it should be part of the public because it is part of history, and you know, the way people evolve is something to the degree Tyra said. I was like, okay, Tyra. She just released this like 3 weeks ago.
Says that about the repeats they play of his show too.
Do they still play the Cosby Show?
Exactly.
Do they?
Oh my. Okay, well, it was like, do they? You know, but yeah, we watched the first 3 episodes, and it wasn't even like episodes that have been like criticized at all. It was like just like they're probably like mild, very, very mild. But like what we saw in those first 3 episodes, we were just like, God damn.
Well,
did you see the screenshots of the episode? Huh?
Didn't you get into a Twitter argument with that Adrian girl?
Adrian Curry?
No, like yeah, she actually streamed on Twitch for a while, and she like started dating this one streamer named fucking Duck. What was his fucking name? And he wanted to be like an actor or some shit. She started dating him, Duck Sauce, and she streamed World of Warcraft. She was the winner of the first season of America's Next Top Model. And I didn't like have beef with her or anything, but whenever I was like blowing up, she was just like, you know, like, I don't know why she's so popular. She's ugly or something like that. Something to that effect.
Before you say anything else,
I'm gonna fucking get the clips. Hey, I'm gonna fucking get that bitch. Come out here.
Adrian.
Adrian Curry.
I didn't really take, like, I was just like, oh, she's just jealous because I have viewers and she thinks that people should just watch her because she was on America's Next Top Model or something.
Well, yeah, because she married a Brady.
Yeah, because she married a Brady.
And it's not even Tom.
Honestly, it was like, Adrian was probably one of the less problematic girls of the bunch.
Yeah, like, honestly, she probably only talked that way about me because she was traumatized by Tyra, so it, like, gave her this complex to talk shit on other women.
Like, the pick-me girl thing. No, she definitely did that, though, but... because she talked badly about Robin, and that's whenever I was just like, you know, she's lost my vote. Like, I am like, I don't want her to win now.
But then Robin talked badly, like, two of the girls talked badly about their views on homosexuality when they're getting their hair and makeup and their photos.
What?
For real? Walk?
Like, are you joking?
How to walk by
I were getting, it's like if I were there.
I think I do remember that one.
Look so fucking ugly.
Because like during that time, it was still like during the early 2000s, like people could still be like, "Oh, I don't have an issue with gay people, but it's just against my religion." Well, like people could get away with that a lot more than what they would now.
Burning in hell for all eternity, but it's not my business.
Oh, not Rob. Oh, okay. So there was Ebony, and Ebony was a very strong Black feminist lesbian woman.
Beautiful, strong, Black African-American woman with very dark pigmentation, and she had like a bald head. She was honestly, I think if the show
she would have won today for sure.
Today. And she's like, absolutely the most gorgeous of the group.
It was
today.
Like really fucked up. They like had her putting in like eye contacts to like make her look whiter.
All of the women of color wore contacts. All of the women of color lightened their hair.
It was so upsetting. And she was calling it out. She was like, this is fucked up, Tyra. And like all of the girls were like calling her annoying and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this woman was so fucking far ahead of her time. Like,
and at the time, you know, you thought she was just this whiny social justice warrior, and now you look back.
I don't
like,
even
oh my
think
God,
like
she fucking got it. She understood then.
Well, we were like 8 and 9. Well, I mean 5 and 6.
We were so young.
We were young.
Like whenever that first came on. So I really didn't like. I don't think I really had an understanding or like a concept of how these like women were actually being super racist and like homophobic to Ebony. But like watching it now, it was just like, oh my God, this was so normalized.
Well, and like I know that like we don't watch a ton of reality shows, guys, but how shocked are you that one of the bachelors who just was on one of the most recent seasons is
he came
bachelor?
out.
He came out as gay. Yeah, Colton Underwood came out as a gay.
I saw that.
Man, he's 29, so you know, I mean, I guess like if there's another season of The Bachelor, I guess this is my year to apply.
Have they done like a gay or like lesbian?
I bet they haven't.
Like, bi?
No, they've never. This is the first year they actually have done an African American.
Well, and you have to think like most of their fucking most of their fucking viewer base, you know, it's like white people. It's like middle women. America white people.
It's 18.
I know the type. Yeah,
35 is their primary.
I bet they have a lot of Christian base because it's like ABC or some shit, right?
Yes, and it's much more, but it's gotten very sexual. I mean, they are just, I mean, the hot tub is just full of cum.
Those Christians those Christian women.
Did you guys hear that Maddie Tipton and Kevin McAllister had a baby?
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow, I'm so happy for Kevin.
You know, we love Brenda.
We're ready. Oh, my God. I want the baby to remake Home Alone.
Well, you know, there's the remake of Home Alone coming to Disney Plus that Macaulay Culkin is in. He actually helped produce the past 2 years.
Didn't he help produce or direct it?
He's a producer. He's not a director, but he's a producer. And then it has Ellie Kemper from The Office. I'm sure you guys remember her. Mm-hmm. She was in the later seasons, but she's very funny. And
she was good.
You know, Brenda Song, of course, has her Hulu show.
And
so
she
I'm
just
really
did a movie, you know, on Netflix, which was, you know, a hit.
It was number
one
on
Netflix
for like 3 weeks in a row, which is a really big
Disney
deal.
Channel icon.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, talking about like all these celebrities, and we were kind of talking about how normalized, you know, things have been on TV and like through the years, and I think that's a perfect segue to kind of get us into today's topic.
Okay.
So, like I said, you know, once again, guys, just a forewarning, trigger warning. This is serious. There are talks of strong, you know, sexual violence against women, rape. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. So, from here on, we are gonna, you know, get a little bit more serious. We might have some moments where we kind of break away and
we just want to lighten the. We will like.
We might lighten the mood.
Laugh, it's only because we're trying to lighten the mood for like ourselves.
And honestly, because we're nervous, we are all notorious nervous laughers.
Laugh at a funeral because we're so nervous.
It's so true. But we won't do that today. Honestly, I'm worried that I might cry.
I am gonna grab a bit of water.
God.
My throat is so dry.
Oh yeah, I've got my water here.
I chugged water, but my throat has been so dry today with allergies.
Would you mind?
Oh yeah, I took a Zyrtec and I took an Allegra and I got some nasal flow. I've been tripling.
Like I've been taking stuff, but it's just. I'm out in the sweats. I mean,
Adrian is 38 right now. Oh, okay.
Okay. But 1 second, guys.
Thank you, Roche.
Yeah,
you know, honestly, I was honestly wondering that in the back of my mind, Roche. So thank you for letting me know. I was like, how old would Adrian be? So she's 38. So yes.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to say too. Okay. Hold on. Just say what you just said again for like the podcast cut sake.
Oh,
hello, everybody. Welcome to Recreational Use, our weekly podcast. Every Wednesday we are live on Twitch. Check us out at twitch.tv/Kaceytron, twitch.tv/HollyCannabis, and twitch.tv/ShanyeWest, which will all be linked below as well. This week we're going to be talking about the sexual assault allegations against Marilyn Manson. This is a pretty serious episode, so trigger warning. There are some sexual themes and talk of abuse and BDSM.
Well, not BDSM.
Not BDSM, but
BDSM as a cop-out.
Right. But yeah. Oh, and I also want to shout out to Ellie Jaden. I think we all watched her videos, but we've been kind of like just doing some research over the past few weeks about everything that's been going on with him. And I know one of the main sources that we've used is a YouTuber, Ellie Jaden. She's like done a really good job at keeping track of everything that's happened. And she's also referenced the Instagram Manson is abusive quite a bit, and they upload some stuff pretty regularly about some of the things that he's done and like relevant videos and whatnot.
And also one other thing about her, she actually is going to be interviewing with some actual like real like investigative journalists soon. So definitely follow her because she's kind of gonna blow up from this. She like really did some deep dives. So she's been like reached out to by like a lot of like actual journalists and stuff. So it's pretty cool. We definitely looked into a little bit of other stuff. We've looked into his book, and I know Casey, Sean, and I were all, you know, and it's hard to say now, we were all fans of Marilyn's music in our younger years.
Right? He was just somebody who, like, at the time, like, you kind of thought, oh, like, he's a smart guy. You kind of thought highly of him. You know, like, one of the things that I really remember a lot is, like, his interview that he did with Bill O'Reilly. You know, that really popular interview that he did on Fox News where he was, like, at the time getting blamed a lot for the Columbine shooting because they listened to Marilyn Manson's music, and he
says I wouldn't have asked anything, I would have listened.
Yes, exactly.
When asked what he would have said to the shooters.
Right. And
I think that was like, I think at that time nobody really was taking mental health into and not into effect, but they weren't really keeping that in mind with like things like this. I don't think anybody really thought like about the shooters and, you know, what their mental health must have been like at that time. But definitely it was interesting to see like a celebrity kind of voice their opinion about it. And he just kind of,
I feel like he got a lot of respect to a certain degree from people.
Okay.
I feel like he got a lot of respect to a certain degree from different people because of like that interview that he did with Fox, and just kind of always like, oh, he seems like somebody who stands up against the establishment kind of vibe.
I watched him, I know, and like, gosh, I can't think of his name, journalist. He did like Sicko and Bowling for Columbine.
Michael Moore, yeah, he did the interview with Michael Moore too.
Yeah, and he's an amazing interviewer. Like whenever you talk like serious topics, like he can do it. But he's such a chameleon because I don't know if I've listened to so many different clips of him, and God, guys, like there's just so much. There's so much like. It probably wouldn't have been like a 2-episode type of thing if we would have included all of this information, but it's insane. It's insane how much Manson talked about abuse and abusing people and just got away with it. Like I even listened to this old episode and like, please, if anyone knows what this is, please let me know. Strictly Sex with Dr. Drew, Loveline. He was on this episode.
Yeah.
Please press 1. Anybody know what that is? So he was actually on this episode and I listened to it then and I was like, holy shit. It's just crazy. He was just this person that was able to change like that, like day and night. Just, I don't know. But I think it made Manson just this like character to me. Whenever I thought of like Manson, I thought of like somebody who made it cool to be weird. Like he made it like he didn't just make it like acceptable. He made it like the new cool thing.
Well, and
to be weird and to be different.
He was kind of helping me when I was growing up in terms of like gender identity, like because it was like he was so fluid.
He is androgynous, yeah, like for sure. But it's like it's interesting.
Yeah, somebody was like, no surprise, he's friends with Johnny Depp.
Well, yeah, and that's something we're going to actually discuss during the during this episode. Actually, is his very, very close ties with Johnny Depp, and Marilyn Manson being Lily Rose, which is Johnny Depp's daughter. That's his. Marilyn
he's the godfather.
Yeah, Marilyn Manson is the godfather of Johnny Depp's daughter.
Which is pretty disturbing to think about because
they share matching tattoos. Johnny Depp and Marilyn Manson, they share matching tattoos together, and they also Johnny gave him his home. Like Johnny actually gave Marilyn a house.
What?
A $3.5 million home.
We're just saying maybe Amber Heard is a liar, but maybe she didn't lie about everything.
I think and this is something that in my own life I've been kind of saying as well, you know, whenever people are telling stories is, you know, that people maybe remember a different truth, or
that's so true.
You know, that there are, you know, like just like how there are 3 of us here, we could talk about this experience of the podcast today completely differently. Like,
so true.
When we get up and leave the room, it's because like every person views a situation so differently. It's hard to call people a liar today. I
mean, I just feel like, okay, yes, she definitely. I think it's definitely been proven that there were things that she said that weren't true.
Yes, there are lies for sure, but like
But
I don't think everything is a lie and everything is true.
I just, like, with all of this coming out about Manson and knowing the extent of their friendship, I definitely question more about the legitimacy of some of Amber's claims. Like, I feel like he could have drove her to this point. Because they say there's always a fine line between victim and victimizer. Because sometimes along the lines that will change, that dynamic will shift. And it's who really knows what happened. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. Today we are going to be covering the life and downfall of shock rocker Marilyn Manson. He has been caught up. What did I call him?
You said Marilyn Manson or something.
Marilyn Manson, also known as Brian Warner.
Yes, Brian Warner, born January 5th.
Capricorn gang.
Capricorn gang.
So, if you haven't heard, recently, Evan Rachel Wood named her abuser as Brian Warner, aka Marilyn Manson, and that's kind of where we start off, because that's why we're talking about it, because this just like recently came out.
Well, and really before we even go into that, I think we could even talk about like his kind of womanizing life and his long history of like dating like
thank you so much for the
raid,
Rupa.
And something that you'll notice a lot of if you look into his relationship with actresses like Rose McGowan and Dita Von Teese, is he molds them into these pinup girls almost, who are
very much so the same look.
Pale, they're voluptuous, they've got these big lips. It's like that's just like the very beginning, really. He was born in this very Christian lifestyle. He actually went to a school that was because he was raised at the Apostle Church, but he went to a school that was like a what is the word, like a Roman Catholic high school, a Christian school. And he went there from 1st to 10th grade, where he ended up leaving. So it's like he was raised in this background where the kind of lifestyle he leads is considered completely evil and demonic already.
Yeah.
Just to start there, and I know that that's like kind of like, not to jump around a bunch, but I think it's important, that you really start to kind of discuss how his weird upbringing shifts his future, because it's so weird how close they are together.
Yeah, and we will get into that. But I guess
but really it was February 1st of this year where his career really hit a fever pitch, I would say. And that was when Evan Rachel Wood shared, finally, after years of kind of
speculation.
Speculation and years of discussing having an abuser, she finally identified him, and she identified him by his real name. And Brian.
In this Instagram post, it reads, "The name of my abuser is Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson. He started grooming me when I was a teenager and horrifically abused me for years. I was brainwashed and manipulated into submission. I am done living in fear of retaliation, slander, or blackmail. I am here to expose this dangerous man and call out the many industries who have enabled him, because he ruins, because before he ruins any more lives, I stand with the many victims who will no longer be silent." So this was like really the big first public person to come forward about Marilyn. There had only really just been kind of like hints to his abuse before from exes until this point. And we know that prior to this, Evan Rachel Wood was really working hard on the Phoenix Act to get this law to help women
basically have more time to be able to report their abuse.
Exactly.
Yes, and it just kind of broadened victims' rights. Was kind of what the purpose of the act was. And it finally was passed, and it's passed in all 50 states, which is so incredible. But still, after all of this, people are still shaming her and like letting her go from films and like letting her go from projects. Acting like she's like kind of kryptonite.
And that's the industry, unfortunately. But I mean, like, this, I feel like this man is a very sick and depraved man. And he wrote about it so candidly himself in his autobiography in 1999, The Cold, Long, Dark Road Out of Hell. Next, we have this excerpt from his book.
First of all, before we move on, you know, like, I wanted to ask, like, what were your thoughts whenever you first heard about, like, Marilyn Manson is being, like, canceled, you know, for, like, sexual abuse? Were you, like, surprised? I guess, like, I was. It was like I was surprised, but it was one of those things that you think, like,
I felt like
you're
I was
surprised,
duped.
but then not really. Yeah, exactly.
I felt like I had been duped. I felt like really stupid that I didn't see it because all of those warning signs were there. And I feel like I'm somebody, I mean, we all are people who have been around domestic.
Well, and we're such empaths.
Well, and we've experienced domestic abuse or have been in the crossfires of it firsthand.
Yeah.
So I think it didn't come, like, it definitely didn't pop out to me whenever I was younger so much. I guess I didn't see it. But now, you know, hindsight is 2020. Whenever you become a full-grown adult, and you guys, some of you I know watching, whenever your brain develops completely, you know, things kind of change and you start to see things differently.
Your perspective on life kind of begins to develop, and you start to view things differently because, you know, at your age, for example, you know, as a young teenager, we didn't know about these things from Marilyn Manson. We thought he was just a crazy rock star.
We thought it was just like theatrics.
And we read, you know, and it wasn't like we read only his biography. You know, we were reading biographies on all kinds of different rock stars. And
well, we actually didn't finish it. We talking about that. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. But you know, it's like so it's not like we didn't have an appreciation of music or like a stomach to, you know, to their stories. Like we did like listen to a ton of others. His was just much more demonic and much more, you know, and it's like, but at that age, you know, you think you know who someone is, and as time goes on, you don't, and your perspective does change and your mind changes.
Exactly.
Casey.
But yeah, going back to so yeah, moving on, I guess. So, like we were saying with Marilyn.
Wait. Okay, sorry, go on. I was like, how did you say how... Okay, I'm sorry, I just never heard how you said how you felt about it. You asked how we felt, so I said, how did you feel?
Oops. Sorry, I'm like, I just got caught off guard. Yeah, I don't know. I guess, like, at first it was one of those things, like you said, I feel like I felt duped. I think that's, like, a good way to describe it. But then I felt like, yeah, I just felt very stupid because it was like...
so obvious.
Yeah.
Like, painstakingly obvious. It's true, but yeah. that kind of like brings us like back to like
God,
the obviousness of it.
Should we just go back from the beginning? I'm just like, I feel like we're so fucking high. I'm like, we need to get back on track. I feel like we're like kind of jumping around all over the place. Okay,
I agree. Let's start from the beginning.
From the beginning, cut, editor cut.
Cohesive. Okay, let's do the intro.
This is the thing. We're doing these live, and we're very high because that's
Sean,
part of the podcast.
We're restarting. Sean, we'll let him get his headphones on. I'll say that I'll start with the intro.
Only you guys will cut it. We'll cut it. It's fine. We're doing it live. No, this is part of the whole fucking process. This is part of the whole process. This is fun for us. Like, leave us the fuck alone, okay? Like, Trainwrecks does his Scuffed podcast, and he just goes on for, like, 8 fucking hours. Like... Again. Sean, we were just saying that... We were like, we're jumping around all over the place. I was like, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
So we can be, like, more cohesive and stay, like, focused. We're all so high. Okay, let's take another hit, though.
It's like, I have added notes. If you go to slide 2... It kind of starts about his early life.
Well, I wanted to start off with talking about Evan, like, coming forward, and then I go into talking about his books, so then we can, like, kind of reference his early life there, because he talks about his early life in the book.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
Slide 1 to slide 3. Let's do that real quick. Hold on.
Okay, so slide 1.
Let me just edit it really quick.
Y'all got a PowerPoint? We got a PowerPoint to kind of help our flow.
Is that going to be a fucking problem for you guys?
But, you know, it's like we do it live. We do it live.
Well, and it's also for reference for, like, photos for people to view. It's, like, stuff, like, because we'll have videos and stuff that we'll be playing, like, later on.
And this is, like, kind of an interesting one because, like, the last topic we talked about, you can talk about more openly, but it's like this one you kind of have to talk about in, like, a certain order.
And in a respectful way.
And we're doing it live, and we're coordinating between 3 people, but we want it to be open conversation, but we don't want it to be that scripted. It's like, we don't have a script. We're off script.
Like, it's literally, it's notes. That's what this, it's speaker notes.
We're doing speaker notes. We're public speaking. We're doing this to kind of, God, we're so fucking dumb.
Well, it's like, do you think that every politician who gets on stage does not use
we're figuring it out. A lot of the reason why we wanted to do this is because we were like, we need to work on sounding smarter. We were like, wow, we've been out of school for not that long, only a few years, you know, but still, like, you know, we haven't had a lot of that mental stimulation. So anyway, here we go.
I just
from the beginning.
I moved it for us, and I think that should make it flow a little bit better.
Does that mean I need to refresh?
I don't think so. It should automatically do it. With slides, I believe.
Yeah, probably. Hold on. Let me restart my thing.
Okay. Okay. So I'll go ahead and I'll start with the intro. So welcome everybody to our second episode of the Recreational Use Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed last week's episode about our take on this new age of the digital sexual revolution. Make sure to give us your take and your opinion on what we talked about last week. This week we're going to be going into something a little bit more serious. We're going to be going into a little bit of a deep dive into these Marilyn Manson allegations of sexual abuse and domestic abuse and just all around abuse and violence. So without further ado, my name's Holly.
Hey, I'm Sean, or Shanye West 69 on twitch.tv. How's it going, everyone? And Casey.
What's up? I'm Casey. You can catch my stream, twitch.tv/Kaceytron, which will also be linked below. And before we get started, I also want to shout out Ellie Jaden and Manson is Abusive, the Instagram. Ellie Jaden is one of the YouTubers that we've watched a lot of her videos to kind of learn about a lot of the allegations with Marilyn Manson.
And we did want to reach out to her to, like, try to get, like, her to maybe do the podcast, but we didn't have time. Like, you know, like, guys, you know, we do want you to know that, like, we will eventually have guests.
Yeah, we are going to eventually have guests,
Absolutely.
more guests on. But yeah, so we're talking about Marilyn Manson today because just not long ago, it's a couple of months ago, around the beginning of February, Evan Rachel Wood named Marilyn Manson as her abuser. And this had been speculated for a while. She had been doing a lot of public speaking for the Phoenix Act.
She began trying to pass the Phoenix Act in 2018.
Which it is passed in all 50 states now.
And what the Phoenix Act is, sorry, Casey.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's what the Phoenix Act is a it's an act. It's for all 50 states. Excuse me. And it's basically to help victims of domestic violence have longer lengths of time to report their abuse, and also more rights. It's a Victims' Rights Act. Essentially, excuse me.
But yeah, she posted on Instagram. This is what she posted on Instagram. I'll go ahead and read it really quick. The name of my abuser is Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson. He started grooming me when I was a young teenager and horrifically abused me for years. I was brainwashed and manipulated into submission, and I am living in fear. I am done living in fear of retaliation, slander, or blackmail. I am here to expose this dangerous man and call out the many industries that have enabled him before he ruins any more lives. I stand with the many victims who will no longer be silent. So she came out with that February 11th, I think. I'm not sure. No, February 1st. And there have been other women to also follow, and we'll get into that later. But first of all, I wanted to start off with what were your guys' initial thoughts whenever you heard that Marilyn Manson was being canceled, and then for sexual abuse?
For me personally, I thought it was about time. I had actually kind of, for like a few years, had already kind of turned Marilyn Manson off in my head. And like stopped kind of listening to his music because I started hearing some of his interviews while he was dating Evan Rachel Wood, actually. And he was in an interview saying how he wanted to like basically like mutilate her and torture her. And still have sex with her and things like that.
Yeah, see,
and it was just very morbid type stuff. And it was like, as a kid, I really didn't know that was the kind of stuff being said behind the scenes. I was just listening to his music and watching cool music videos.
Yeah, and whenever I saw, like, you know, like I had listened to his music and stuff, but I never really followed him that closely. So whenever I had heard that and like heard the like about these different interviews and stuff, I was just like, you know, like I guess surprised that it wasn't like some of the things that he said in the past, like there wasn't a bigger deal made out of it. But yeah, Holly, how did you feel? Holly, you're muted.
I truly did feel very duped just because he kind of portrayed himself to be this totally different person in the media. And he, I think, validated a lot of people that felt like outcasts. And, you know, he made people feel like it was okay to be the outcast. And it was okay to be a freak. And it was actually cool to be a freak. So I thought, like, Manson was this person who was just different, and he just thought different. So I did feel very duped, but I knew it was true the moment I heard it, because it was so obvious. But it definitely hit me in like a way I felt like frustrated with myself for not acknowledging it before, you know, because I mean, even though I was young, I was super, super angsty whenever I was a teenager. So I loved Marilyn Manson as a teen, because that's fucking angsty teen music.
Yeah.
But like looking back now, it's so, so obvious. And then seeing the work he kind of did later on after Trent Reznor cut ties with him, I mean, it just got so, so dark and awful.
And I remember, I remember both you and Sean, talking about reading his book and whatnot, which I wanted to start with that next, is like kind of going back to him releasing his autobiography, which I believe he released it in like
1998,
I want to say. And one of the things like that's striking when people have came back across this book is just like, wow, he really said all of this shit in a book and people still didn't question it at all.
No, it was actually critically praised, actually.
It was it was like a New York bestseller or something like that.
Yeah, it was a New York Times bestseller. The only thing that people really they really had negative to say about the book is they felt like there was some stretching of the truth. That was their biggest thing, was that
he was like embellishing it too much.
Yeah, they were like, he seems to be a little bit too cool in these, and that's like what I noticed. And that's honestly because I stopped reading the book I would say probably around chapter 4 or 5.
Yeah, Sean and I were talking about this because we both did this thing where we would read books together.
Yeah, we'd like kind of like forth.
We would like read a chapter and I'd be like, okay, Sean, you read the next chapter, and we'd like fill each other in like a book club. And we started with the Manson we started with that book, and I think we got to chapter 4, and it was just so deeply disturbing. We stopped reading there, and I tried to listen to some of the audio recording I found on the internet as an adult, and within like the first 10 minutes I turned it off. It was so disgusting.
This is an excerpt from the book. Oh, what were you gonna say?
But yeah, I was actually gonna say, but yeah, this is actually an excerpt, straight from the book, and it's not even the worst of it.
Yeah, it's here, I'll go ahead and read it. In my room, along with my Kiss posters, hand-drawn cartoons, and rock I'm like, wait, should I start there? Hold on, pause. He's talking about how she had come home late, wouldn't tell me where she had been. Suspecting her of cheating, I lost the temper my father had handed down to me and threw the bottle at her face. He's talking about an Avon cologne bottle that he threw at his mother, opening up a bloody gash over her lip and scattering cheap perfume and shards of blue glass across my floor. She still has the scar, which has served her as her constant reminder never to have another child. In altercations that followed, I hit her, spit on her, and tried to choke her. She never retaliated. She just cried, and I never felt sorry for her.
That really stuck out to me too. Since I have been looking into this whole Manson thing, this whole scarring of people seems to be something that he really likes to do. It's like his permanent way of putting his mark on somebody. And I think there's more meaning to it than him just wanting to harm somebody, because him actually causing a physical scar and leaving a scar is something he continually brags about. But the book, it definitely gets so much worse than just this. It goes very into detail, and Marilyn Manson, Brian Warner was just such a fucking freak of a kid. In the book, it actually talks about his grandfather, and that is that's whenever I stopped listening. It was almost I would describe it. I don't know if you guys are super familiar with Ed Gein, but Ed Gein, his first time he said that he had an erection was whenever he saw his mother butchering this pig in their barn, and he was 5 years old. And that's really fucking weird and disgusting, right? Marilyn Manson, somewhere around this same age, sees his grandfather masturbating to bestiality porn. Same thing. And it's really fucking I just felt it was this weird kind of parallel. It just made me think of Ed Gein. He's a fucking weirdo, and it gets so much weirder throughout the book. But I think we actually talk about the book more throughout this, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
this is another excerpt from the book that's just like, what? While I didn't think it was right to take a human life, I didn't think it was right to deny myself the chance of causing someone to die either, especially someone whose existence meant so little to the world and to herself. At the time, taking someone's life seemed like a necessary growing and learning experience, like losing your virginity or having a child. This is part of his biography where he talks about stalking an ex-girlfriend and fantasizing about murdering her. He even details driving to her house before hearing police sirens and deciding to turn away. He like talks about this in his book, like this is a real event that him and somebody else had planned to go to his ex-girlfriend's house and murder her. And then they got scared because they thought the police were chasing them. And the other thing about this that's just like, you know, like the more you start reading about Marilyn Manson, it's just like, holy fuck, he is a raging narcissist. Like, who talks like this? Like, oh my God.
Well, and then like, you know, the fact that he says this doesn't surprise me, because in the early like chapters of his book, I'm pretty sure probably the same friend, he talks about him and how him and his friend would like go kill animals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's truly, truly disturbing. Oh, hi, Aphrodite. What's up?
Oh, period.
Marilyn Manson reading when, by the way? We
yeah.
We need one.
Oh
we
my
need
God.
one.
Aphrodite, just come on, do a surprise appearance. We'll do one now.
Do
No,
a
like,
surprise
I don't know
reading.
if
I
you've
did
looked
one
into this
already?
at all. Oh, you did?
Is it on YouTube?
Oh, you did one? Oh, shit. I'm like, I want to watch it.
Okay, we might have to watch that at the end.
Yeah, no, let's watch it at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, did anybody else, because I know you guys like read the books a little bit, maybe. Are there any other excerpts from the book that stand out that we wanted to mention before we moved on into talking about like his early life or whatever?
Really, the thing with like his grandfather, truly, I mean, like this thing with his grandfather and his obsession with his grandfather truly seemed to be something that was like reoccurring. He talked very, very horribly about both of his mother and father, but I know that went on to change later in life, and he actually, you know, talked really great of his father and how he had become this ladies' man and how he cheated on his mom all the time, and he talked about it.
Oh, like he looked up to him because of that. So Sean, you know a little bit more about like his early life and upbringing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, not a ton. I just know about how whenever he was going to this Christian school, he was trying to be more edgy, so he'd paint his nails, and he would like say he was killing animals and things like that. And it was kind of like you think about like Michael Myers, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like killing animals, and he's like, oh, I'm draining rats all weekend and shit like that. And it's like, you know, you're just a weird kid in Ohio at some Christian school, like you're a wannabe.
And you know, here we have some kind of like pictures of Marilyn through the years. So there's just like this progress of like he's constantly just like trying to like shock, but I feel like within like recent years, like this isn't that shocking anymore. Like you could go out anywhere and you could see somebody dressed similar to this way. Maybe not be such of a monster as Marilyn, but you know, he's kind of lost his edge.
Well, and it's just like, not only is it not shocking, it's it looks like, you know, whenever you see these old rock stars who've started to gain weight and do drugs still, and they're getting into their 40s and 50s, and it's like, oh no, honey, you look like you're just full of pills. Like, you look so big and just bloated. It's
well,
like,
if you've listened to like any of his like you know, I've came across some of his like live concert footage and stuff over the research.
So
he sounds awful, like terrible sounding live, and it's almost like he just gets away with it too. It's almost like he goes on stage and instead of playing music, you know, like whenever Donald Trump was president, like when he would go on stage and instead of being president, it was like he thought he was a fucking comedian or something. Like That's basically what Marilyn Manson is doing on stage nowadays, is just getting, like, really fucked up, like, drunk, like, to where he can't even fucking sing, and then just, like, going on these dumb rants on stage. Like, he's so full of himself. Anyway. So
we start to go into where things kind of progress. You know, he was shielded for quite some time by the people he was around, I think. But finally, you know, sexual harassment allegations kind of started to come out. And, you know, a history of harassment kind of started to come out. Casey, do you want to kind of talk about that a little more?
Yeah. So the more you look into Marilyn Manson, it's just like the more you'll find. There's like so much to talk about, honestly. Like, I doubt we'll even cover it all. There's so many different instances of him just being like violent and a real piece of shit, and doing it like publicly, and it being talked about publicly, and it just not really getting any attention. For instance, in 2001, he assaulted one of his security guards and spit on them and rubbed his G-string genital area on his face. And then he also is known for like publicly threatening different musical journalists and whatnot. This is from a blog post in 2009. I am far different than the soon-to-be murdered, and their home press has decided to fabricate. If one more journalist makes a cavalier statement about me and my band, I will personally, or with my fans, help greet them at their home and discover just how much they believe in their freedom of speech.
Well, and you know, that's actually something I didn't know. Speaking of his band, I didn't realize that Marilyn Manson discography actually is identified as a band. And
the Spooky Kids.
Yeah. I mean, I knew the Spooky Kids, but like Marilyn Manson as a band itself, and there's been so many like former members, and they have horror stories of Marilyn and how violent and how volatile he was to them.
Charlene Yee, the actress from The House, also tweeted about this in 2018, which she deleted. She said that Manson was a huge fan of the show House and visited the cast while they were filming the final season, where he harassed just about every woman, asking us if we were going to scissor Rhino. And he also, she's an Asian woman, called her a China man. She just said, I genuinely hope he gets help.
Which is another thing we see quite a bit with Manson, is just xenophobia, racism, just real shit behavior. Which, God.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. This is another article that has popped up a lot recently. This is about a lost film that was recorded in the 90s. Groupie was a short film by Manson that was shot in one night between 96 and 98. The short was recorded at an actual house party that Manson was hosting and involved a stooge actress portraying a young groupie being made to do more and more perverse and disturbing things in front of Manson's unknowing guests, who were only told that a woman would be arriving and that he would be filming her. Apparently, the film begins with Manson sucking his bandmate Jordy, Twiggy, who is Twiggy, sucking his penis through a condom at the house party before the groupie shortly after that arrives at the door, brandishing a piece of artwork as a gift. She is then invited inside, where things become progressively more disturbing. She is pressured into drinking one of the band members' urine from a wine glass. Which she eventually does, but only after convincing Manson to also partake in it. The contents of the remainder of the short have not been made entirely clear, though it has been revealed that the groupie at one point was tied up. A gun is introduced into the situation by Manson. A fight breaks out and blood is shed. Many of the party guests are said to have come away from the experience very shaken up, not knowing whether or not what had happened was legitimate or staged, though it has been suggested that the film consists of both legitimate and staged events, and that the actress portraying the groupie, while somewhat in the know, may not have been given all of the details of the event prior to the occurrence. Only 3 people are confirmed having to have seen the film: Manson and Andy Dick, and then Manson's manager, Tony Cooley.
Oh.
Or I guess, his manager,
I'm pretty sure his lawyer's seen it,
Yeah,
too.
I think his lawyers have seen it, too, now.
I'm like, I think his lawyer might have it, actually.
If not, we should send it to him.
Yeah,
well, it's legend that his lawyer actually has it.
Yeah, this is what's known as like the Lost Manson tape. And if you look into it, you'll like find more. And I feel like I vaguely remember it being like rumored about like in school whenever I was young. Like I feel like I vaguely remember it being talked about, but not really. It really did kind of get like swept under the rug.
Have you listened to the because there's like
there's a very short there's a very short
like a
clip
1 minute clip that's ever been released, and it's horrifying.
It's on Ellie Jaden's YouTube, and honestly, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to play it on Twitch because I feel like that almost is too much. But yeah, it's very disturbing.
It's like this woman is just screaming in complete horror. Like you could tell in the sound of her voice that she truly felt like she was in fear for her life. I don't think she would have done any of those. Like nobody would do any of those things, like just because. But I think she really, really felt in fear, for her life. And, he didn't end up releasing it because, he was told that it would ruin his career. It's unfortunate,
Unfortunately, he didn't release it, I guess.
And, this is like the thing that we see with these celebrities and, how they're just never, like, they're just shielded so much by the music industry. But I mean, let's like kind of talk about Manson's early relationships, because he does have some other prior relationships. Manson kind of seems like he's always kind of dated someone. One of his first real serious relationships that I know of, whenever he became in the public eye, was Rose McGowan. Mm-hmm. And, they dated for 2 years and they were engaged, right?
Yeah, they were engaged. Yeah,
they were engaged. And they called it quits in 2001 after there were rumors that he cheated on her. Rose denied these allegations on the Howard Stern show. Do you remember like these Howard Stern interviews with Marilyn and Rose?
I don't.
So there are these, like, it's awful because like Howard Stern is such a misogynist. He's awful. And he talks so terribly about her. He was like, she just wanted attention, like da 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 da. And like, it's disgusting, like just how women really were treated then. But she didn't really hold a lot of animosity towards Manson. And I feel like we'll talk a little bit more about Rose McGowan later.
But it's really just fucking interesting, right? Like, I remember whenever I was looking into this and I was like, holy fuck, he dated Rose McGowan? Like, how fucking strange. You know, because, everybody knows Rose McGowan is, like, basically the face of the Me Too movement.
She's been really, big in the Me Too movement. Absolutely. Yes. So, I mean, his other, like, kind of, like, really well-known girlfriend, I feel like everybody kind of, like, I don't know. If you guys are our age, you guys know who Dita Von Teese is. But Manson began dating Dita in 2002. She was, like, a popular burlesque dancer. She was, like, everything that, like, Manson, I think, was, like, into. Like, she had that, like, look that was, like, really pleasing to him. And I think Manson, like, once said even that she was the only woman that actually looked good by his side, that ever actually looked good by his side.
Which is fucking full of himself.
Right.
So condescending.
I think Sean knows a bit about the relationship too. Like, you were talking to me about their split or...
Oh, with Marilyn and...
Dita.
Or with Dita. So Dita Von Teese, yeah. There's an interview, but she, they got married. They had been together for 7 years, and then she actually went ahead and left on the day before Christmas. She packed up everything, and then the next day she actually flew to Idaho, where she's from, and got away from him that way.
And then
his divorce papers were served to him on his birthday.
Yeah, it's funny, and she made a little joke about that in her interview, but she doesn't, like, she never said a lot about it. But there was like one thing I was able to really find on her where she talks a little bit more about the abuse, and I found this in a 2007 article in the Irish Examiner, and I don't know if you guys know of the Irish Examiner, if it's a legitimate.
Really talked about the abuse.
No, she really didn't talk about it. This is the most she ever hinted about it. She says, "There are a lot of things that I would not like in my next relationship, but I would like to be with somebody who is maybe a little bit more even-tempered, or someone with good manners. Maybe someone who is nice. That isn't really the word, but someone who says please and thank you and is even-tempered and doesn't break all the windows in the house. That would be cool." So
she's like, that'd be great if you could just stop fucking.
That was like honestly one of like the most like offhanded like kind of comments she ever really made about him. But she does say, like, she did later on say that, you know, that was not her experience with Manson, but you know, she believes like Rachel whenever Rachel did come out. But I thought that was like really, I found it really interesting how I guess not how quiet Dita's kind of been, because she has the right to be. She doesn't probably want to just be known as, like, she's already known as Marilyn Manson's ex, like, wife, I think, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's been like really quiet, and I wonder because she's even like rebuked some of her statements now.
Maybe she got like paid off.
I know, that's what I've thought too. But I mean, let's talk about a woman who will never be paid off by anyone.
Jenna Jameson.
That
was just like my next slide that I had up. Yeah, he also was in a relationship with Jenna Jameson briefly.
Yeah, and for those of you guys who don't know who Jenna Jameson is, she was a adult film star in the mid 90s to like early 2000s.
She was huge.
She was a huge porn star.
She
got a lot of awards.
She was name. Right?
She released a best-selling book called How to Make Love Like a Porn Star. And then she was with Tito Ortiz and, you know, several other different, like, you know, big names. But one of them was Marilyn Manson.
And sorry, this is totally off topic real quick. Jenna Jameson is how I first learned how to do my makeup. Her like makeup artist actually did like makeup tutorial videos on this show I would watch, and it was like, that's Jenna Jameson's makeup artist. So I modeled my early makeup after Jenna.
So Holly is like 12 years old. Holly's like 12 years old. Like, I'm gonna do my makeup like Jenna Jameson.
It's true, 100%. But yeah,
wow.
So she said she had a short relationship with him. We didn't go out long because I cut it off after he would nonchalantly say he fantasized about burning me alive. Once he started speaking to me violently, I was like, goodbye, Brian. Also, the bruises from him biting me weren't fun. Sexually, he liked to bite, and it was disconcerting. Which I was like, ooh, that is actually something he talked about in the Strictly Sex with Dr. Drew show. Very, very openly. So the biting thing always has been a big thing for him. And I mean, like, we talk about BDSM and we talk about, you know, like kind of like being like kinky or whatever. And it's very, very clear that Brian Warner never drew the safe lines of BDSM. It was not a BDSM relationship.
Well, he didn't, you know, he didn't follow the code of conduct of BDSM. And several people in the BDSM community have actually come out and stood out against him, saying that they don't agree with those practices.
But I think because of that, like Jenna Jameson, everybody just completely was like, "Oh, you're a porn star," and they just like blew her off. Like, but she was somebody else that came that made claims about him, and then we had, the big kind of breakout, which was Evan Rachel.
This is from an interview that Marilyn Manson did after him and Evan Rachel Wood had separated in 2007, and they had a very like on and off again relationship. But in an interview in 2007, after they had broken up, he revealed that he severely self-harmed following their split. He shared that his song, "I Want to Kill You Like They Do in the Movies," is about the fantasies he had every day about smashing her head in with the sledgehammer, in reference to Evan Rachel Wood. When asked about this in November of 2020, Manson hung up the phone. His legal team later released a statement claiming the sledgehammer comment was obviously a theatrical rock star interview promoting a new record and not a factual account. The fact that Evan and Manson got engaged 6 months after this interview would indicate that no one took his story literally. So yeah, this is he literally said this in an interview in 2007, like publicly.
And it was, I believe it was Rolling Stone, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like any, like, it wasn't like a small name interview. It was Rolling Stone magazine.
Where it could be bought from any store.
And still just like in one ear and out the other. Like something like this, like somebody saying this, like in an interview, like in reference to their ex or whatever, that would not fly today because it just screams like being extremely mentally abusive. Like he's saying that he's self-harming, in an interview that he knows that she will see. And, it's just like another way to, it's another thing that abusers do, right? They like make the victim feel sorry for them, or like the victim did something wrong. It goes into the mental manipulation that Manson did. But yeah, just like him saying it in an interview, fantasizing about killing her. And, like at this point, this is in 2007. So at this point, his book had came out with like all of the references to like thinking these violent thoughts had came out. Like, the stuff with Jenna Jameson had came out. Like at this point, there had been like so much evidence of him being an abuser, and he still just like said these things so openly. But
yeah, no, it was like very, very like very telling, but it's also very telling of how just that time period was too, because he just was able to just get by for so long and just like, oh, it's just theatrics. Like everybody just saw it as like
shock.
it's just Marilyn Manson. Like he's a nice guy. I really feel like people genuinely was like, oh yeah, he just says that stuff. Like I don't know. I feel like he was just able to get away with so much, like living under this whole kind of like goth like lifestyle, which I know we get into, but like this is like such a good example of like, oh yeah, like this is just theatrics. Like, oh, it's it's all just theatrics. Oh, he's so like I don't fucking know. Cutting edge. He's so edgy. Especially at this time, 2007, such a different time period. But
so this is another article. This is from The Times. This article was written in 2015. It's titled "A Life in the Day." The American shock rocker Marilyn Manson, the 46, talks about beauty routines, wanting to be a dad in his naughty room. And this is what it says in the article. Bad girls may find themselves locked in a soundproof room at Marilyn Manson's house. It's what you'd expect from the beautiful people singer whose rule is play from your heart and from your dick, not from your mind. Oh, and never use Viagra. Manson refers to this former dance studio as a place to sleep and have sex in, which has a small room that if anyone's bad, I can lock them in it and it's soundproof. It's called the bad girl room, he says, adding that the room is used often. Like, what the fuck? He like literally just said this in an interview in 2015. He's bragging about this.
He's confessing.
Which like the women who have came forward, they have referenced this room and talked about how it has caused them severe psychological issues from it.
Yeah, so it's just like more and more corroborating like each other's stories with these women, because they all have very, very similar stories to that. A lot of the women talk about, like, they called it, like, it was like a ballet studio, and he called it the Naughty Girl Ballet Studio. Like, I think he had multiple like everywhere he went. That's just, you know, that's how these type of people are. You know, it's really not surprising.
To me, it's just like, it seemed like the longer he was able to like get away with it and say these things in the open, it was like he just became even more and more emboldened by it, you know, like as time progresses. Like he said this in 2015, you know, and just like all of the other things that he said, like in his book and like other interviews, it's just like, you know, like, why wasn't anybody stopping him?
Listening. It's like no one was listening.
Right. One of the things that's been referenced quite a bit throughout this is throughout this controversy is how it was like him being, you know, like a goth and like representing himself that way allowed him to kind of like hide in plain sight, because you'll see him like pass off a lot of things as, oh, this is like artistic.
Right.
I don't think I included this in the slide. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. You're fine.
Oh, I don't think I included this in the slide, but there's another story that I heard about. It was like about one of his assistants, Jonathan. He would talk about how anytime he hit him, he would pay him $100. And then he brought up one time specifically that he laid $500 down on the table and then just beat the shit out of him. And then he painted him, like, you know how Manson does like watercolor and stuff, and you can see some of his paintings on his website and shit. But he painted this picture of his assistant that he had abused and was like, oh, like he acted like he made something of him, like, you know, because of his abuse, it made him stronger.
He actually talks about that in his book, like how he abused
strength makes abuse.
But it's crazy because he says everybody thinks it's a self-portrait of him, and it's the one that you guys have probably seen, that you like, everybody, like, if you guys are familiar with him, you've probably seen the self-portrait of Marilyn Manson, but that's actually, that was this guy that he would beat regularly. It's pretty disturbing. It's just very narcissistic type behavior.
Can you guys see the video?
Wait,
are you like watching my stream? Because I'm streaming the slideshow.
Oh, okay. Did you skip one of the
in Discord?
No, honestly, I'm having some troubles. Like, actually, like, for some reason, it's like everything cleared, and it's like all black. Like, I don't know what happened, but it's like everything went away. But I'll get it open. Yeah, it's like it is what it is.
So here's,
if you like look in the Discord call, if you just like watch my stream, I'm like streaming this slideshow.
Okay.
Well, do you have the slideshow open or still, Sean?
No, I don't. It's closed. But I'm watching now. I got it.
Do you see it?
So
yeah, it's good.
You should be able to hear it too.
Count down. 1, 2, 3, go.
Ranking Member Jackson Lee and distinguished members of the subcommittee, thank you for inviting me to testify today. My name is Evan Rachel Wood, and I'm an artist, but I am also a domestic violence and sexual assault survivor and the single mother of a young boy. When I was 5 years old, I started working in film, and every day since then, I've worked to reach the very privileged place I'm aware that I occupy. And I'm here today to use my position as an artist, survivor, mother, and advocate to bring a human voice to the population of 25 million survivors in the U.S. who are currently experiencing inequality under the law and who desperately need basic civil rights. I struggle to speak to you today because I'm not sure what words are appropriate when discussing this issue. However, if you can't hear the whole truth, you will never know true empathy, and I believe in the saying, if we have to live through it, then you should have to hear it. This past year and the massive movements such as Me Too and Time's Up have been extremely empowering and validating for survivors, but also incredibly painful. While no one had to tell me that rape was such a worldwide epidemic, to see the flood of stories so similar to my own was both freeing and soul-crushing. Waves of memories and detail came flooding into my brain every time I read the words. I froze. I thought I was the only human who experienced this, and I carried so much guilt and confusion about my response to the abuse. I accepted my powerlessness, and I felt I deserved it somehow. Why? There are 2 specific instances of sexual assault and violence I've experienced that really stick out in my mind. In fact, they are burned into my brain, branded there for life, a mental scar that I feel every day. My experience with domestic violence was this: toxic mental, physical, and sexual abuse, which started slow but escalated over time, including threats against my life, severe gaslighting and brainwashing, waking up to the man that claimed to love me raping what he believed to be my unconscious body.
Wow. It's a lot.
Yeah, so that's Evan Rachel Wood speaking. This is in February 2018. It's one of the first times she spoke publicly. And this is like her raising awareness for the Phoenix Act, which we spoke about a little bit earlier. It's to support sexual assault survivors in all 50 states. It, like, basically gives a longer length of time that women can like report abuse.
Ranking Member Jackson Lee and distinguished members of
So I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the other victims that have came forward.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
February
so after
1st,
this,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, right. So after this, like really kind of like a flood of, victims really started to come to light, because before this, like people really were just like living in such fear of Manson.
Yeah, it like really opened the floodgates for it. So one of the first women to come forward is Ashley Walters, and she met Manson in 2010. He had reached out to her on social media and was asking to collaborate on a photo shoot. She publicly said, "I continue to suffer from PTSD and struggle with depression. I stayed in touch with quite a few people who went through their own traumas under his control, as we all struggled, as survivors do, to get on with our lives. I'd keep hearing stories disturbingly similar to our own experiences. It became clear the abuse he's caused. He continues to inflict on so many, and I cannot stand by and let this happen to others. Brian Warner needs to be held accountable." She also stated, "It felt like I was his property because he would offer me up for sexual encounters to please potential collaborators or friends and brag that he could do so."
And then we have Sarah McKinley, another victim. McNeely, sorry. She says she was lured in by him acting extremely loving, which quickly turned violent. She has stated that he threw her against a wall, threatened to bash her face in with a baseball bat, locked her in a room when she was bad, and verbally berated her for hours. She stated, "I have been afraid to bring any spotlight upon myself as to avoid winding up in his crosshairs again. As a result of the way he treated me, I suffer from mental health issues and PTSD that have affected my personal and professional relationships, self-worth, and personal goals. I believe he gets off on ruining people's lives. I stand in support of the many that have and will come forward. I want to see Brian held accountable for his evil."
Another one, Ashley Lindsay Morgan, is a model who he met in 2009. When she was in Bangkok, she says he asked her to buy Nazi memorabilia for him in Asia and bring it to the U.S. She said it felt so wrong because she is Jewish. She said, "I have night terrors, PTSD, anxiety, mostly crippling OCD. I try to wash constantly to get him out or off of me. I am coming forward so he will finally stop."
I hope he does.
Then we have Gabriella Acarinina, another victim who says that he started with being loving, which quickly turned to violence. Among her claims that he forced her to take drugs with him, and that they made a blood pact. It has taken me 5 years to speak out and say that I was in an abusive relationship. I have been diagnosed with PTSD and still suffer with nightmares. I blocked out a lot of the memories, but the feelings remain and manifest in various ways. The reason I'm finally sharing the traumatic experience is for my healing and because I'm done being silent. I don't believe it's fair for someone to not be held accountable for their horrific actions. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor.
Period. I think that's great that she was able to come forward and, kind of take back her power in that way.
Right. And then after this, we kind of see Manson kind of like have this big freak out, right? So he starts tweeting in defense of himself, and he kind of calls on Rose McGowan, and he's like, look, I'm not this guy. I dated Rose McGowan.
Mm-hmm.
And and that pissed Rose off. I guess she even had contacted him and said, you will not use me, in your defense, because they really did start trying to pull that card with Rose McGowan, and she spoke out about it. And you guys should be able to hear, whenever I play it, you should be able to hear it too, so you don't have to play it at the same time, I think.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Only sad today and disgusted, but I am mostly proud. Proud of Evan Rachel Wood and the others who've come forward against Marilyn Manson, my ex. When he was with me, he was not like that, but that has no bearing on whether he was like that with others before or after. It takes time to come forward. And again, I am proud of these women and anybody who stands against an abuser. They steal time. These are time eaters. They steal lives. They steal hopes, dreams, freedom, sexuality, love. And I'm also here to say to the Hollywood cult leaders that have employed him and sanctioned him, and Interscope Records and Sony, who was with him during the Evan period, you are accomplices. All the PR managers, agents, lawyers, the Hollywood cult must be stopped.
And what's actually really interesting is Rose McGowan was actually born into a cult known as the Children of God. I don't know if you knew that. As well as Joaquin Phoenix and a few others. But it's interesting to me because it seems like not victims, but these people who are predators
Only sad today.
Will seek
and
out
disgusted.
People who are easy to victimize. Knowing just what I know about Rose and her background and how she was horrifically abused in that cult, because there was a lot of sexual abuse in that cult with children. I don't know the details of that with her, but I wonder how normalized abuse was to her whenever they dated, because whenever she was on the Howard Stern show and she was interviewed about it, she was very, very defensive to the idea of Manson cheating on her. But we all know now it has been confirmed that he was cheating on her. And I wonder how Rose must have felt at that point, because she had worked so hard to get away from being a victim. And I felt like that just made her feel victimized once again. And to be called out how she was on the spot on that show, I felt like she wanted to do anything to deny that. And I wonder what grown Rose McGowan would say to young Rose McGowan. But her being the leader of, not the leader, but she's been a big spokesperson as a celebrity who has talked a lot about the Me Too movement and has empowered a lot of women. And Casey, I know you wanted to talk about that a little bit more.
I'm like, wait, did I?
I mean, I know we want to talk about how much easier it is for women to come forward when they feel like they're not alone, because this makes them feel like they'll be believed more, right?
Oh my
so
gosh.
With Rose being this kind of person, I feel like it did make a lot of women feel like they could stand in solidarity, and we started seeing
power in numbers.
We started seeing then kind of this like social media movement of a lot of other women, more and more women coming forward.
And amongst this, Marilyn Manson did make a statement, and this is from Instagram. He says, "Obviously, my art and my life have long been magnets for controversy, but these recent claims about me are horrible distortions of reality. My intimate relationships have always been entirely consensual with like-minded partners, regardless of how and why. Others are now choosing to misrepresent the past. That is the truth." So this is, he does deny it, but he also admits it.
He says,
he basically confirmed that it's all true. He said that they don't feel the same way about it, but he admits that all of these things happened, basically.
We see him trying to throw out this is where it's kind of like clear he's going to try and use that whole BDSM argument. Entirely consensual with like-minded partners. To me, that just like seems like he's 100% like trying to like throw out this like idea of like, no, like what I do like may not be like okay to everybody, but I do it consensually with like-minded people. So, and we know that's we know that's a big distortion of reality. And I think that's one of the things that really got Manson off on it.
It's a bit of a stretch of the truth.
But I mean, a lot of stuff got like him off on things like that, just making women uncomfortable in general. And we see it a lot. And this is whenever we started to see more women kind of coming forward. One of them even being Phoebe Bridgers, who's really been a breakout recently. She said in a Twitter trigger warning, "I went to Marilyn Manson's house when I was a teenager with some friends. I was a big fan. He referred to a room in his house as the rape room. I thought it was just his horrible frat boy sense of humor. I stopped being a fan. I stand with everyone who came forward." She actually even did a short interview about this and said he did make her feel incredibly uncomfortable.
It's just...
Wolf Alice, Ellie Roswell, is a musician, and she also shared her experience on Twitter. Solidarity to Evan Rachel Wood and those calling out Marilyn Manson. It's so sad to see people defending him. Just because he put his depravity in plain sight doesn't give him a free pass to abuse women. I met Marilyn Manson backstage at a festival a few years ago. After his compliments towards my band became more and more hyperbolic, I became suspicious of his behavior. I was shocked to look down and see he was filming up my skirt with a GoPro.
Yeah. And I guess this is something that he was known for regularly doing, actually. And this is something that one of his like former bandmates corroborated as well. He talked about Evan Rachel Wood. I think Evan Rachel Wood, he was only with the band for about a year before he split and was like, this is just too weird. But he said, he saw Evan and he could tell like just within like the year that he had known her such like a big decline and who she was as like a person. It was like she was a shell of herself even more so. And, he said that this was the type of things that he would see him do regularly, then even. So this was something that happened. I think he did a lot. These are the women that are coming out about it. There are still so many women who are still scared to talk because his fans are fucking relentless.
Yeah, and guys, what do you guys think? Like, going forward, what do you think a Marilyn Manson fan base will look like? I guess, like, do you think that because his longtime manager has dropped him, you know, all of these people have come forward, and then also he's been dropped from his record label, even though his most recent record was a success.
Was it a
what
success?
Do you guys? It was like kind of successful, yeah. So it's like, what do you guys think? Do you think his career is over? Do you think that there will be, like, this is the beginning of like criminal charges perhaps, or what do you guys think?
I think we'll see like a desperate attempt to try and regain his like place in society, I guess, because I feel like people did see him as like this kind of good guy who was just different. I think he's gonna try and probably produce another record, produce something. It might be independently, but I do think he will. But I think he will face some sort of criminal charges. I think it will be difficult, just because I'm like,
and we'll kind of wrap up with that at the end. We'll like talk a little bit more about the outcome and stuff.
Yeah, not to like, you know, try to jump the gun, but it's just like, you know, it is just hard. It's like, do you see a career after? You know, I mean, and that's not, you know, just in general, I'm like, it's an interesting question for sure.
Can you guys see this next video?
Yeah.
I'm actually having a lot of trouble with mine, honestly, with this laptop, but I'll be watching on my phone.
I'm gonna hit go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Love Bailey, and I just want to thank you for everyone that's reached out to me and offered their condolences during this dark time. Because of you, I am brave to stand in my truth and to tell my story. And because of all the death threats I've been getting, the photographers reaching out threatening me, I feel it's a pressing matter that I speak directly to the camera and tell my testimony of what really happened the night I met Marilyn Manson. So that day I was doing a photo shoot with the actress for Love Cat magazine, and Love Cat is now Galore magazine. So we did this photo shoot at Jeffrey Deitch's house, and I was asked to follow to Marilyn Manson's studio, recording studio, on Santa Monica Boulevard, where I was supposed to dress for this photo shoot. So I show up to Marilyn's house, and I remember 3 rooms. There was his recording studio that had plastered on all the walls, hustler spreads, women scantily clad, plastered on all his walls. There was the living room where we were stationed to put hair and makeup in the glam team. And then there was his bedroom that he had in his recording studio. So as we were unpacking all the couture and the glam for the photo shoot, I noticed there was all these dark paintings on the ground. All these demonic paintings that were done out of charcoal, like scribbled aggressively. And they were all sort of scattered and accumulating into the corner of the room where it looked like he was trying to open a portal. There was like this big circle of charcoal that looked like he was trying to open a portal of some demonic presence.
That I used to love Marilyn Manson, and I was like, oh, I was there with Love that night, and that's when I was assisting for her. We went into the living room with all that creepy freaking art, and with like the cocaine bags everywhere, and then you were gonna have us come and help you, and he was like, no assistance allowed. Like, don't know why you brought them. Like, they're useless. Like, they can stay outside.
As we were getting ready, you know, I'm like trying to put the couture together and just do my job. I was 20 years old. I was a young, naive stylist, just trying to make a name for myself. And here I am in the presence of what I thought were my heroes, Marilyn Manson. I looked up to his music until that instance. So I'm just doing my job. I get called in to go into Marilyn's boudoir. And as I'm walking into his boudoir, to the left side, there was a glass cage where it looked like that he held his victims, where he held women against their will. There was a lock on it. I crawl over the sex-stained sheets that and Marilyn had just finished up whatever they were doing, and I looked over to and she was blackout wasted. And I don't know if this was from pills. She was not coherent at all. She was stumbling over. She hurt her knee on the bedside table, and Marilyn laughed at her and just let her crawl on the floor. And so I ran over to help, and as I'm, holding and trying to get her balance with her, Marilyn pulls a gun to my head, a big Glock, a metal Glock, not a toy gun. This was a real gun. And he pulls a Glock straight to my forehead and says, "I don't like faggots," ha, as he laughs in this really dark, aggressive tone. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a humorous behavior or something to take lightly. And I remember being stunned in that moment. I felt powerless.
That's horrible.
You called me and you were so
she just included this to cross-reference her as well.
You were kind of.
Well, and guys, I did do a deep dive on the magazine.
It's not revealed who the actress is,
but I do believe that the actress was Lindsay Lohan. They're seen together a lot, and this magazine, the year it launched, Lindsay was actually the very first cover of this magazine. So it's just kind of who would have been who else would it have been?
And Love Bailey's account is kind of stopping it from happening, right? Walking in almost as it's happening and seeing the actress incapacitated and being what's going on here, and kind of stopping it.
Well, in this, it's it sounds like maybe it did happen, and she walked in and sees how passed out the actress is.
And this is all just speculation. We don't know that it's Lindsay. I just want to say that for legal reasons.
It's all alleged that it's Lindsay.
But there was a period where they were actually seen a lot together. I saw pictures of them together, probably mid-2000s. Yeah.
Well, and I could honestly probably, and I've been down, I know a lot about Lindsay. I could give you a whole Lindsay rabbit hole. And I do believe that it is Lindsay, just from what I know about her, and just from kind of the internet sleuthing I've done about Love Bailey's kind of case and time frame. It really does. All signs point to Lindsay.
My name is Love Bailey.
But yeah, I mean, even with Love Bailey coming out about all of this, it really just did bring a totally different side of Manson out too, because it's we already knew he was just this
piece of shit.
But it's throw in
some homophobia too.
I mean,
oh yeah, transphobia, homophobia,
anti-Semitism. It just goes on.
Anti-Semite. It's just so many boxes he fills. It's incredible.
One of the other things that I wanted to mention that I was just thinking earlier. I've seen the pictures of him with Lindsay Lohan, and the way he's posing with her, he's behind her and holding his arm in front of her, kind of around her throat. Do you know the pictures that I'm talking about?
Yes,
I'm sure if you'll Google them, you'll see them. And whenever I saw that just so much struck me as him asserting dominance, which I also saw another example of. This is something else. Yeah, the Taylor Munson thing. Yeah, he was performing
Taylor
at some music
Momsen.
Festival with Taylor Munson. And who is she?
Taylor Momsen of The Pretty Reckless, also known from How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
That's what I thought.
She was
Cindy Lou Who.
Yeah, so she started her career. She's from St. Louis, Missouri. She started her career. She was a child actress and child model. And she started out as Cindy Lou, and she had a bunch of other movies she's done too. But then her next big break was Gossip Girl, which she ended up leaving to pursue being a musician, and she's continued to do that since.
But she had a horrific experience with Manson. Really in her early years, I think she was 16 when this happened. He literally
it was her very first tour.
He chokes her out on stage in front of all these people, and
but makes it look like part of the performance. And if you watch the video of it, you can see they're performing together, and he keeps on kind of grabbing her in just a forceful way, and you can tell she's kind of trying to play it off and just dance and act like things are normal. And there was actually one of her assistants that did an interview about this, but she accounts how she was like backstage while this was going on, as she was Taylor Munson's assistant. And after Taylor Munson came off stage, she was just like really upset. And she said she was even bleeding from her mouth. And she was just saying things like, oh, that wasn't supposed to go that way. You know, we never rehearsed this. And she was really shaken by it.
Yeah, and she wasn't able to finish like her big interview that she had like been there for that night even. You know, so it was like he like fucked up another big chance in her career. It seemed like this man had like a very systematic way of doing things. Like I'm sure he took pleasure in knowing that she didn't go to that interview because of him.
Right. Another woman to come forward about Manson, Esme Bianco, and she's in Game of Thrones. A lot of people will probably recognize her, but she actually was in a relationship with Marilyn Manson as well. And this is her speaking also on behalf of the Phoenix Act. She was another one of the actresses to kind of raise awareness and whatnot about it. But I'm going to play that now. 1, 2, 3, go.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what we have to recognize within a statute of limitations is the ability for a victim to come forward.
Today I'm presenting SB 273, the Phoenix Act. SB 273 is critical, and it's a very important piece of legislation because it would extend the statute of limitations for survivors of domestic violence who need additional time to heal from their trauma, feel safe away from their abusers. Today with me, I have two courageous individuals. First, Esme Bianco, survivor and advocate for domestic violence issues.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Esme Bianco. I'm a domestic violence survivor and advocate. Before he succeeded in his seduction, my abuser carefully groomed me, manipulating and gaslighting me over a number of years of friendship. He knew that I was easy prey. I had neither power nor control over my life. A previous intimate relationship had stripped me of both, and so I was led from the frying pan into the fire. Initially, he was charming, intelligent, funny. He told me I was his soulmate. By the time I was living with him, he controlled every aspect of my life. He had a dress code I was expected to abide by. He controlled what I ate, decided if my friendships were acceptable, and when I called my family, I did so hiding inside a closet. I was not allowed a key to the house, and I would often be locked in the bedroom. He controlled when and if I slept, and I was often violently shaken awake should I go to sleep without permission. Verbal abuse and name-calling was a daily occurrence, but the physical violence was most often disguised in acts of intimacy and was not consented to. In one instance, I was bitten until my body was covered in bruises. On another occasion, cut with a knife during sex. He took photos of my naked, mutilated body and posted them online without my knowledge. I still have these photos, along with photos of my body covered in welts inflicted with a whip. On one occasion, after 4 days of no sleep, he became very angry with me. He started smashing holes in the walls with an axe, and as I tried to calm him down, he began to chase after me with a weapon. It was at this stage I realized my life was in danger. I was a prisoner in his hell, and yet I thought I had done something to deserve this, so I just tried harder to please him. My trauma had normalized these horrific events to enable me to survive. It took me 7 years to get to the stage where I could see these acts for what they were: domestic violence. After a diagnosis of PTSD, the symptoms of which I still suffer on a daily basis, I started the incredibly painful process of healing from my trauma. The night terrors are the worst part. I wake from these dreams screaming, soaked in sweat mid-panic attack, and once the panic subsides, it is replaced with a crippling shame. The shame is overwhelming, the fear that I might somehow repeat past patterns and find myself back in the cycle. When I finally found the courage 7 years later to seek legal advice, I was told, despite having photographic, video, and written evidence, that it was too late. Nothing could be done. So I live with the daily knowledge that my abuser is still inflicting irreparable damage on other women. The Phoenix Act gives survivors the time they need to break the cycle for both themselves and their abusers, who we know are statistically most likely to continue abusing if left unchecked. I know I will never see justice for what happened to me, but I am here risking my safety and that of my family to respectfully ask you to vote yes on this bill and give thousands of survivors a chance to seek the justice they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Problems, but more importantly, and the person who...
But yeah, that's Esme Bianco from Game of Thrones, and she's been pretty vocal about her abuse as well, like on Instagram and whatnot. And a lot of the victims, like you have seen like a lot of them communicating amongst each other, you know. And before we move on, because next I wanted to kind of like, you know, go over like what's happening like more recently. Are there any other things that you can think of that you wanted to bring up like through, you know, like reading into Manson? One of the things that I wanted to bring up that I forgot to mention earlier is another common theme that you'll hear about Manson, like on his tours when he was touring, is just like the way that he would objectify women and like, you know, like call them onto his tour bus. And there was an account, I can't remember who exactly it was from, I can't remember her name, but she accounted going on a tour bus with Manson and his band members, and them like immediately like telling all the girls on the tour bus to like get naked, and that they were going to like do a contest and judge which girl had like the best body. And she said that she did that and felt very uncomfortable, and that Marilyn Manson even like put his hand like down her pants. And,
yeah,
like,
I believe
her.
I believe
like,
she said it was her first sexual experience.
Yeah, yeah, she did. She did. Yeah, there's
disgusting.
Yeah.
He's just like such a skis, and I don't know, I think he's gotten away with it for so long. He still believes he will. And I think the only way that we'll truly ever see justice is an HBO documentary or a documentary on surviving Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, that's something we've kind of talked about recently.
Oh, there could easily be one.
Well,
Yeah.
you know how it's just like the only way to like actually like it seems to get somebody out of the industry is somebody else in the industry. It's like it's not these police officers or anyone else doing due diligence. It's, you know, HBO did a documentary or Netflix did a documentary, or, you know, it's just, it feels so wrong that these other people in the industry have to be the ones to be like, yeah, I guess I'll do the investigation since nobody else will. And that's what finally, even though all of this stuff, probably, you know, how many police reports, everything just gets ignored until HBO makes a documentary. It's just so ridiculous, but that's just that's just the world we live in, and
that's just the justice system for you.
And that just kind of goes into Evan Rachel Wood more, and you know, she received a lot of threats online, and she was told even that
your career is over.
Well, and that underage photos would be revealed of herself.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. So recently, after Woods first came out that Marilyn Manson was her abuser, which was like around the beginning of February, she also wrote on an Instagram story that she had to file a police report last year after becoming aware of a threat about the release of underage photos of herself from Manson. On December 19th, I had to file a police report after I was alerted to threats made by Leslie Lane and Lindsay Usage Official, who is Marilyn Manson's wife. Lindsay Usage is Marilyn Manson's current wife. Were conspiring to release photos of me when I was underage after being given large amounts of drugs and alcohol after Brian performed on Halloween in Las Vegas to ruin my career and shut me up, wrote the Westworld Star. She included a photo of the police report with contact information blacked out. She also resurfaced a post which provided more details of what she experienced with Manson. I was called a Jew in a derogatory manner. He would draw swastikas over my bedside table. When he was mad at me, I heard the N-word over and over. She continued, everyone around him was expected to laugh and join in. If you did not, or God forbid, called him out, you were singled out and abused more. I have never been more scared in my life. And she's talking about a photo that like surfaced of her, and it was like
kind of used as blackmail.
Yeah, it was like a blackmail photo. She's like wearing like a Nazi uniform and has like a Hitler mustache drawn on her.
Well, and it was like something that Manson had actually worn in a fucking music video.
Yeah. But I think that this is actually one of the charges that's maybe going to be used against Manson, is him having like child pornography, right? Because he's in possession of photos of her when she's underage.
I mean, I'm sure that he has a lot more there, but it's like, you know, from how it sounds, it's just, it's very, he's just like a very, very depraved man. And you could tell that he really gets off on, you know, permanently scarring these women. You know, he also talks about with Rachel, like, you know, whenever he was like calling her over and over and over again, every time he would call her, he would cut himself. So, you know, she could see the damage he would do. He was very much so into physical, mental, just all types of scarring he could do. He wanted to cause the most damage, it seems to me. And I don't know, like, when this huge abuser came out, but I feel like it's always been there to a degree. What we know about abuse.
Well, and personally, I'm sorry to interrupt, Holly, but I do remember hearing things that he would do, like branding and things like mutilating and stuff like that. And I do remember his house on Cribs, and just thinking like, what? Like, it's just like, you know, whenever you have a bad feeling about a place, it was just like you had a bad feeling about it. It was just like, this place is not a place that is holy. It's not a place that there's purity. And he's just such an evil spirit. But what you were saying a second ago, really quick, a refresher. What were you saying, Holly? You were touching upon the point of sorry, I literally I did catch it. Oh gosh, I did catch it, and I'm like, I actually had something to add though, and it was about what he was doing to Evan Rachel Wood. I remember hearing that stuff and thinking, what a freak. And then you'd hear about the things he would do, and it would remind me of like a teenager who was being like melodramatic about a breakup. And I do remember a lot, and when I was, you know, a teenager, I would think that. Like, I remember thinking that. Just feeling like, wow, this guy is a baby.
Well, and these
inside.
Things like these like permanent scars and like these brandings and things, what we know is it will cause a person to completely disassociate from themselves, and they kind of lose this sense of self, like, because there's somebody's like print on their body for life. And you know what we know, and it almost like makes you feel like this sense of like you have to belong to them, because who else is gonna love you with these like permanent markings. It's something that we see common actually in abusers like Manson. And also what we see with these abusers is, you know, the abuse, it doesn't always it's not extremely violent in the beginning. It's stuff like the cheating. It's stuff like with what he was doing to Dita, with, you know, breaking all of the windows in the house, and whatever caused her to leave so abruptly on Christmas Eve, pack all of her things, or move in a U-Haul and go home to her house in Idaho.
Like,
abruptly.
Not only did she like pack up and leave with only, and you know, she left, you know, she didn't leave open-handed, or not open-handed. She didn't leave
empty-handed.
Empty-handed, thank you. Dita Von Teese did not leave her marriage empty-handed. However, she did leave with a U-Haul of just her clothes and her shoes. All of the furniture she left. And she knew Marilyn for 7 years. She was essentially like immediately following Marilyn. And actually, I would say that she is what kind of piqued my interest back in Marilyn Manson whenever they started dating. And Kaceytron was a beautiful, like, kind of pinup girl, and she's done like a lot of kind of like makeup ads and things like that, and she's unconventional, which I've always liked.
just really relatable. And you know, it's like with these cases of abuse, it's like, you know, we'll see these kind of like gradual progressions where it's like, you know, they're, you know, maybe like wanting somebody to look a certain way, or, you know, maybe they're saying sort of degrading remarks. And, you know, at that time, I really feel like that misogyny and like that kind of domestic abuse is pretty normalized. And then we see this extreme progression, and we see it with all abusers, where they'll just become more and more and more and more and more violent. So this idea that Marilyn, you know, has continued to just become more and more violent and has been so outspoken is no surprising to me. And I know that Lindsay Usage, like his wife,
his current wife,
has posted like horrific photos of herself on her Instagram, where it's clear she's been abused. It's clear she's been abused.
She hasn't said anything about it, but there's like a photo on Instagram, or is it a photo she posted where it's like her eye is blacked out?
She has like a black eye.
It seems like she's covering up her black eye. It might be
fake or whatever, you know. And then there's also Marilyn Manson like commenting. Well, there's also one of her
like whip wounds like that she posted.
We're talking about his current wife, Lindsay Usage.
Well, and I think because they got married relatively recently, I would say, like since the COVID-19 pandemic began is whenever they got married. And I would be interested to see how long this marriage will last.
I hope she gets help, and I hope she's not in trouble.
I hope she's okay. I do. I hope she's an okay person, and
I hope she's not facing like what these other girls were. But it, you know, it just seems, you know, these types of people don't stop, and hopefully we see him in prison.
Right. It's very apparent. You know, it's like there's multiple women coming forward. Their abuse is, you know, like corroborates. It's like the same sort of abuse being used on them. Like multiple women talking about sleep deprivation, which is another thing that Marilyn Manson was always like very interested in. He would always research like Anthony LaVey and, you know, like the leaders of Satanism and stuff like that. And
cult things,
brainwashing was one of the things he was really into. Like he was into Nazis as well, who are also really into that sort of thing, like brainwashing techniques.
Yeah, he was into starving women because he liked them to be very thin as well. Not as like thin like someone like Keith Raniere of Nexium, but he wanted them thin and voluptuous and like with breasts and ass. Whether or not that was fake, I don't know. But he wanted them extremely pale. He wanted them to have very dark hair. Because, you know, whenever I was introduced to Rosa McGowan was the very first Scream film, is the first movie I saw her in. And she had blonde hair. And she had several movies where she actually was a blonde. And she dated him, and that blonde hair disappeared. And same with Dita.
Wednesday Addams.
And, you know, it went red lipstick, dark hair, and the pinup look. And same with Evan Rachel Wood, who's a natural blonde even. And you know, I think with someone like Marilyn Manson, it's like
it's another form of abuse, kind of like, oh, you have to look this way, you're my property, and I want you to look like this. And the women even referenced, like a lot of the women even referenced how he would like be like, oh, you need to look good next to me, and say like shit like that.
And well, and that's something that I believe Holly said earlier is Dita, was it Dita or Rose? It was the only woman who had ever looked good next to him.
Dita.
And Dita is a gorgeous girl. I mean, she is absolutely so beautiful. But I hate to imagine the horrible, you see that porcelain like beautiful face, and the pain probably that was going on behind closed doors. I mean, Marilyn Manson is obviously on drugs. I mean, anyone who looks like that and has that body, he has an Elvis body.
Oh,
whenever Elvis was like near death. And
he has a definite drug addiction that he like openly like kind of like brags about, right? And he tries to get others to participate with him as well. Oh, Corey Feldman even talked about this. He came forward on Instagram and was talking about how during his, whenever he was having a lot of issues with addiction and getting clean, like Marilyn Manson trying to get him to partake in different drugs with him whenever he had been sober, and like really trying to get him to relapse, which is just another really shitty behavior.
Yeah, I've heard there's been a lot of alleged rumors of Marilyn Manson being just severely addicted to cocaine, where he is just doing it like in like the truckloads, it sounds like, the past 2-3 years. I do kind of wonder, what this will mean for just about everyone who's kind of like his level of fame, you know what I mean? Like, because he was never an A-lister. But he was never like a D-lister. Like, I don't even know what level of fame I would classify Marilyn Manson. I don't know what chat would even classify him as.
I mean, I would say like Marilyn Manson is kind of like also a household name too, right? Like especially in the 90s, he was very known. He was like the face of like goth.
Well, and something he would do is
consider him like more like an A-list, honestly, because he is so known.
But it's like, was an A-list. I mean, he's been dropped, and even when he released his most recent record, even though it was like critically well received and everything, music does not sell like it did in 1998 whenever he hit it big. He's not going to MTV Movie Awards wearing, prosthetic breasts and red wigs and all of that. He couldn't fit it. He is, and that's kind of something I've asked the girls. I'm like, honestly, I don't think we could name a song from maybe 2008. After that, I don't think I could name a song.
Yeah,
by like Marilyn Manson, and he's been dropped by his longtime manager. He's been dropped by his agents. His
Trent Reznor was like goodbye.
Trent
after
Reznor
5 albums.
But the thing with Trent Reznor is, and I did include this in the notes section, and honestly, I'd love to go back and we could read about that. It's about Trent Reznor. It's in the, or no, actually I have it. Hold on, let me see.
Oh yeah, like Trent Reznor. I think that Marilyn Manson wrote briefly about Trent Reznor in his book, where he like accounts an experience with Trent Reznor, and Trent Reznor was really pissed off by it.
Damning. It's very like, it's prison time damning.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was.
I have it in the notes section. I just added it because that was something I do remember from the book being like, and you're still sticking by this guy. Because I, even as a young kid, I was like, oh no, honey, guilty by association. I'm just trying to find the Google slides. I'm just so bad at like figuring this laptop out even.
Yeah. But he did speak out. Like he was like one of the people to like speak out against him too, and was like,
I think Trent spoke out about him early on too, right? Because he had like
talked a lot
cut
about
ties
his
with
like
him
drug
early.
addiction, and he was just like, I can't. He was like, he has like no sense. Like this guy's like actually just a clown, and kind of talk shit on him. And people can say what they want about Trent Reznor. I don't know if you guys have listened to, some of the soundtracks that he's done, but I don't know if you guys have seen Soul, the
Disney film. I haven't, but I love the OST. Excellent.
It's just top tier.
I mean, so I guess what do you think the investigation is looking like, if there is one?
Well, the FBI is definitely investigating Marilyn Manson. I have no doubt and that is public record. We could actually probably find that out. You can see if anyone, whoever is being investigated, that's actually public record. I didn't know that.
Pull it up.
Well, it's
never mind.
It's hard to find that kind of stuff, honestly, but it is public record, because I did do a deep dive recently on one of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Jen Shaw, who is being charged with a lot of counts of basically defrauding elderly. So I've been looking a lot into that kind of stuff and learning a little bit more about legal jargon. But I'm having trouble with I'm just like, oh, God, I wish they would have just kept all of the icons like they were in 1999. It'd be easier.
According to The Guardian, Marilyn Manson is involved in a domestic violence investigation concerning alleged incidents about a decade ago. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department said the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Special Victims Bureau is investigating allegations of domestic violence involving Brian Warner, also known as Marilyn Manson, who works in the music industry. A department statement said that the incidents occurred between 2009 and 2011, so it looks to be Rachel. And the department said, let me see if there's anything. So, little known about it.
Well,
that he is under investigation by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Let me see if there's anything that was February.
Well, but something interesting is
it's
they're trying to build a case against him right now. I think one of the things might be the that he was in possession of underage photos of Evan Rachel Wood, but then I think there's also something with sex trafficking Esme Bianco because she wasn't in America, something like that. I'm not sure.
What I'm seeing right now is domestic abuse, and then Esme Bianco, it looks like, is maybe gonna try and get him with some sex trafficking charges. I know her story was a little bit different because I think that there was there's something involved that could because it was God, sorry, that it gets a little complicated there.
Well, right. And then Love is also pursuing legal action as well.
Thank
against
God.
Marilyn Manson. And so there's altogether, I think there's 9 victims so far that have come forward.
That are pressing charges?
That have come forward. Charges and stuff, I don't know yet. That's still probably, time will tell how far that will go. But I was reading his net worth, and this is never always accurate. They say people have more money than they actually do online, but I do believe he has a substantial amount of money. It says his net worth has dropped from $25 million to $10 million. If he goes through a legal trial to fight
thank you guys for sticking around.
It's not like he's
we're kind of
R.
finishing
Kelly
up here.
Where R.
We're
Kelly
just talking about it
flat
now.
Broke somehow, but with Michael Jackson, he still had money to fight and to have a legal case. I don't know how much a legal case would cost for Marilyn Manson to walk away scot-free. To be honest, at this stage in the game, I think that even though there's been no trial or anything, public opinion is such a precursor for the trial. And I think even post-trial, it doesn't matter what they decide. Public opinion is what will determine where Marilyn Manson goes next.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Well, it's interesting, the most recent thing on his filmography that he's done is a show called The Young Pope. It's on HBO. It's on currently. Very, very critically acclaimed, successful. It has Jude Law and stars Diane Keaton.
Interesting.
Interestingly enough.
Wow.
And he was I don't think he's just been in only one episode. I think that's actually quite interesting that he's done something like that. I could see another album post prison. Not for a while. And I honestly could see an album that was more toned down, almost to a point of acoustic level. What do you guys think? Like, if he were to record another album, and do you think he should record another album?
What? I'm sorry.
What?
Sean's asking.
Editor, cut that out.
Sean's asking if Marilyn. Sean is asking basically like, what do you think the prospects are of Marilyn Manson trying to release another album? And honestly, I'm like, probably pretty fucking high. He's so full of himself. He's probably like.
No, I think he 100% will. But.
Well, I think he will serve prison time, but after that, it's like there'll either be a new book, because I'm not wrong. I've watched celebrities a long time.
That's true.
Sean's our pop culture. Sean's our pop culture like knowledge.
I can predict if there is a legal trial, he will not serve more than 5 years. He will go away for a while.
I'm just like, you know what? They've wanted him for so long. I just feel like this is
a lot
George
of people
Bush's
are thinking he could serve like quite some time.
I feel like this is George Bush's and I'm not going to get political here. This is like the one thing. This is
George Bush's "I told you so."
This is his one thing throughout his presidency.
He said, "I told you that man was weird."
This is it. He was right.
But, I think what this will do is if he does really have $10 million in the bank, he's liquidating whatever he does have. His passport, he hasn't been charged with anything. It's all alleged. His passport, he could leave the country, potentially. And this whole theory could be awry. But what I could see happening is he goes to a trial. He gets maybe 2 to 5 years. And I know you guys think he'll serve a lot of time. He has how many? He'll drain his accounts to pay these lawyers, go away for a little while, come back, release something. I could see almost acoustic. That is what I predict. I think by 2030, another album. Yes, let's watch this really
quick. Can you guys see this? Okay, hold on, I'm gonna start it.
And really quick before we start it, Casey, Holly, you make predictions. Then we should watch Ants.
Okay, so what do we think is gonna happen with Marilyn Manson? I think that
a country album or book. I'm sorry, I forgot to add book, but Casey, go ahead.
I think that he's probably being advised to not speak out publicly and keep quiet, I would assume. Like, I'm sure he probably has some sort of legal advice, and at this point they're like, you need to shut the fuck up because the more you talk, the more you make yourself look bad, kind of thing.
Luckily he can use Johnny's lawyers. I'm sure they can get a discount.
Yeah, he's probably using Johnny's same lawyers. You're right. Johnny Depp is like, hey, I know a guy.
He's like, hey, bestie,
I predict that he'll use the same lawyer Johnny Depp uses.
I could see he could use. He'll use some high profile lawyers. I could see him trying to get a female lawyer, also on his team.
But I think that this will get a lot more coverage. Like, I think that people will start talking about this more and more. I think that there will be a documentary made, possibly. You know, I do. Yeah. I think that there will possibly be, like, a documentary made. It's probably already in the works. And then I feel like that, you know, like Holly was saying earlier, will spearhead it even more.
It's just, like, I guess that's just what they have to do now.
See, I have no doubt there's been a documentary filming for probably 2 years, actually.
You know, it's so true. It's honestly so true.
Like, they film documentaries for, like, 8 years sometimes.
HBO's got something in the works. Stars, maybe. I don't know.
Lifetime.
Right. Should I start this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, well, Casey, what do you think?
I sped it up.
So there have been a lot
Casey,
of
what do you
allegations,
think?
and he's in the middle of a huge scandal, and I believe he was dropped by his label.
Oh, you mean Holly?
Allegedly.
No,
So we're gonna
did
see
Holly
what's going
already
on here and
say?
what the followers
Or you didn't say?
In general. Remember, these readings are all alleged for entertainment purposes only, and let's get started.
What we think? Oh, Holly, what are your predictions?
Yeah, like, I don't think we got everyone's.
I think that his sentencing will probably take 2 to 3 years. Like, maybe longer. His sentencing is going to be drawn out for quite a long time.
But he will not spend life in prison.
It's hard to say if he will be able to get out on bail, because I think he would be considered a flight risk.
They'll take his passport, absolutely. But I do believe after that he'll be fine to be on bail.
I could see that.
No, like, they won't keep someone with that much money in prison.
I mean, what?
I've watched a lot of legal stuff. They won't keep him. No.
Not a man.
Well, not a woman either. They wouldn't keep him in jail. They can afford to get out.
By the way, guys, please make sure you follow me on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Amphiretti, same name everywhere. I do these live on Twitch. Now, I will say I have a new setup. Okay, I do have new lighting.
I love
am
that.
using a new deck today.
I love
in
this
honor
new
of the
setup.
new lighting and this particular reading. I am using a Nightmare Before Christmas deck. So.
Oh.
Ooh.
I love
How
that.
fitting.
That's reversed.
I love Ant.
Temperance reversed. The Devil. Okay. Wait.
I'm gonna fast forward a little.
Two of Wands is sex. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I get this right before I say anything. Hangman is about sacrifice itself there, and we'll just leave that alone for now. But the Devil card here is what's bothering me. So I know that he like talks about, you know, devil worship and stuff like that. But Devil can be manipulation tactics. It can be sex. It can also be abuse. And it's reversed with the Temperance reverse, which means that things weren't fair. So I definitely think there was power play involved, and I think there were power dynamics involved. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that he thinks that these were actually something that was like consensual. Like, I think he's deluded enough to think
I
that
agree
his
with Ant on that.
I
think that he justifies his actions for sure.
Like, he thinks that that's
well, so
normal.
I
He
bet
thinks that
there
that's how it
were
works.
so many of them.
It's weird. The Wheel of Fortune, the Queen of Pentacles reverse, and the Justice card means that he really does think people are doing this for pay.
Not to defend Marilyn Manson, and I do believe he put a bad name on the BDSM community. I do believe that he's been with so many women that too much didn't matter. Like, not saying that it was right, but I'm saying he's been with women who it was like the pleasure's all theirs. Like, they were so excited to be with Marilyn Manson. And not saying that like, that's manipulation tactics itself, but, you know, so I think he could have gotten so fucking warped. You know? Alright, continue. Sorry.
Out. Like, he's convinced himself of that. That's not going to change. Justice card being upright says that justice will be delivered, though. So I'm not sure if there's a legal case here, but sometimes when we see Wheel of Fortune and Justice, there may be some sort of civil suit or some sort of, you know, legal thing that ends up ruling in the favor of whoever else is here.
A class action
lawsuit.
lawsuit.
I don't think it'll be ruled in his favor. At least it doesn't really look that way, because it looks more like he'd probably settle if anything. But what I can tell you is it does really look to me like he has no idea what a boundary is.
Mm.
Seven of Pentacles pulled out of his comfort. Which one is this? This one is the Nine of Swords. Overanalyzing, overthinking, and the Ten of Swords is a backstabbing and betrayal. Wow. And using the internet as... He is completely convinced that this is just the internet, someone going against him and using the internet as a weapon against him.
Mm.
I'm not saying that that's not possible. What I'm saying is, I don't actually think that that's what's going on. Perhaps maybe that's what kickstarted this. Perhaps he has an issue with someone. Maybe it's someone important or something. And that... okay, that's what's going on. Okay. Yeah, then... Okay. Knight of Swords. Okay. Impurity. Ten of Wands is the burden, and the King of Wands is the aggressive act. So here's what happened. He pissed off somebody. He pissed off somebody that is very important. I don't know if they're at the record label. I don't know what it is. And this person has had this information on him for a while. Now, I'm not sure if it's blackmail or not, but what I can say is it looks like it, because this person was waiting to topple his tower, and he pissed them off. It's almost like a contract expired. It's like, well, you have this many years, and then when I don't need you anymore, contract's expired. They kickstarted this. That's why he's going to feel like it's like a social media attack, because there is some part of that kickstarted this. But, if anything, it's more like the energy that was allegedly, for entertainment purposes only, protecting you, no longer is protecting you. Mm. So think of it like that. Think of it like, that's weird.
Where did Holly go?
They didn't treat it like this. However, I think he showed signs, and I think she was able to quell it, and then ran when she couldn't anymore.
I'm here.
But there's one girl here that, because the Triumph of Lies means that there's, and Today for Tomorrow means that he's going to try and get this one girl to speak up.
Froze for a sec.
No, like mine,
That's going to be his
mine
goal,
is like totally fucked.
Because I don't think that she experienced the same level, allegedly for entertainment purposes only. I don't think she experienced.
I'm like, would Ant come on right now?
It might be a little late.
Well, it's like, oh, is it really 1:37? What?
Yeah.
What? What?
Oh,
That's true.
What? What? Oh my god. Oh. Well, shoot. Okay, so what do we cover here? So, so Marilyn is in deep fucking water. I'm frozen on my stream. I'm over it. Honestly, I'm frozen. So, like they can only hear my audio, and like it messed up. Like all of everything like went haywire and everything was black for a while. But, I do think, so Casey, do you think that Marilyn will go to prison?
Yeah.
No.
Sorry.
What do you think? Time frame.
I think Holly's right. Like, I think it'll be drawn out as long as possible, like 2 to 3 years, maybe.
The sentence or the trial?
The trial.
Trial, yes. 2 to 3 years. I think jail under 5. I really do believe under 5.
Yeah, honestly, I have no idea, like, what the sentencing could be. Oh, man, I'm tired.
Yeah, so, I guess, what else is going on in the world? Like, there is stuff to like, discuss really quick. Like, what do you have planned for the rest of your week, Casey?
Oh, we're supposed to do movie night tomorrow.
So, unfortunately, I cannot do movie night. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
I was trying to do switches, and then I'm dealing with some stuff.
Oh, you're fine.
With some stuff. Editor, cut this out. Cut this out. I didn't want this kind of stuff on here. But I'm sorry, everyone. I had such technical difficulties. I'm on this laptop. It's super nice, but all of a sudden it went everything went black everywhere. And then like I had to restart it a bunch. It was just a disaster. But like luckily you guys were able to see us on all the streams, hopefully. I think maybe I had my camera up and down a few times. And then honestly it was like I just have been trying to drink more water because like I've been binging the past like day. I was like, oh my god, I've been so bad. Like I've been such a heifer. But today I had a salad. I had 3 grilled chickens and coffee and water all day. So I think we're back. Woo. So
oh my
Casey,
god, do you know what's giving me such, oh my god, these like,
what?
You know, because I just got this new camera and this new mixer, like all of the technical difficulties and shit with this, oh my god, it's been unreal, like these driver errors and like all this fucking weird shit. Like I think I might have to get an additional PCIe fucking slot. I don't know
if you know what this brand here is. What?
Oh, that's like, that's a SteelSeries Arctic.
I'm like, how much is this?
They have that model, I think, is actually like around like 100 maybe, but I love those headsets. Like that's what I'm gonna get. The one that I want to get is like super expensive.
Yeah, like I would honestly like a little different, like more like Mariah Carey looking. But what do you think of the backdrop? I kind of moved some of the stuff in Holly's house. And I kind of did like a plant. Like plant. I moved this over here. I did like, I know we can still see the baskets. But, and then you have the plants, and it's like I have the candle burning in the pillows. I'm just like basking pillows. Like I am in kind of like casual wear. Is that okay?
Yeah. Like, oh, how do you guys think the podcast went today? I feel like it's harder telling a story. It's hard telling a story together, you know, like in order.
It's hard with like really distracted with the technical difficulties. Like we actually had tested this hours ago. We really did. We tested this hours ago. It was working fine, and then all of a sudden it just like.
Oh, my shit was like acting really weird too.
Bullshit. Like it was like we tested it probably the first time we like started getting ready around 4 after we got done like scraping half the ceiling. We like cleaned up, showered, and then tested it, and it was like, all right, cool, it's kind of working. I'm gonna go take a nap.
Did you get? I'm like, did you get the ceiling scraped?
Not all of it, but I mean, I've done ceilings multiple times in my life, actually. I've done ceilings quite a few times, and this is actually, like, now that I've done this, I'm like, I will do my ceiling next.
Yeah, did you guys just, like, get it wet and then scrape it off?
Well, we, you know those pesticide sprayers that kind of mist?
Yeah.
So what I've always done growing up, we would mix it with baking soda, like the hottest water you could, and then a little bit of vinegar, and you kind of like mix it together, and then you just like, you know, go over through the ceiling, and then you scrape it once, you get like one good layer, then you go over again with the mister, you scrape it like twice. It typically gets everything. Like I've actually done this a lot. Like my method may not be the cleanest method because it does make a huge mess, but like we got rags and stuff, it's not like that bad. And like honestly, like everything else we could vacuum up and stuff. But are we still live?
Yeah, I'm still live, but I was probably gonna go.
People wanted to, no, it's fine, people wanted to hear about our day anyway. Like so and then like tomorrow I'm dealing with family stuff. Like there's a family thing.
Oh man.
But yeah, so I'll get my car at some point, but I've been dealing with some family stuff. I don't want to talk about it on stream, but anyway, but yeah, so it was really good to come out to the country and kind of get to work on the ceiling because I do want to get my stuff sanded. Like I should have brought my sander. That's my big regret, is not bringing my sander and those drawers that I have to go with it. because like I have like the paint that I'm gonna spray paint it. Like I have it planned to do as like an IRL stream to do it. It's like all of my furniture remodels.
Oh wow.
I want to start doing like refurbishing furniture and like making like candle jars into like new things. Like my favorite thing I made this Jennifer Lopez candle jar from her Kohl's collection in 2012, and I made it from, get this, a candle. I made it from a candle to a Q-tip holder. Isn't that so crazy? But what have you been doing today, Casey?
Oh. God, my memory. I'm just so tired. I might sign off here. Did Holly already end her stream, or?
Well, I thought she was coming to end the stream and then we were going to end the stream. I'm sorry. I thought we could wait for Holly.
Oh,
if you
okay.
want to sign off here, I completely understand. Like, I understand if you want to sign off.
Sorry, I accidentally put on push to talk and I forgot that I was just like, they're really just ignoring me.
Oh, I was like, Holly.
I actually started imitating you guys, and I started I just put on my normal gaming overlay, and I started putting my cam over your guys' face whenever you guys were talking, and was trying to lip sync you guys.
No, I thought you were in the bathroom.
You guys, I was they're not listening to me. So I just started lip syncing
either,
with
so I
you
couldn't
guys.
hear you in the house. I couldn't hear you. Oh my god.
Oh, look what I got for 420. Hold on.
What is it?
I got this. Look at this rolling paper. It's a cone.
Oh, nice.
It probably fits
Casey,
an eighth or something. I don't know.
What do you want to do for 420 this year? What do you have planned?
I'm just gonna stream. I'm gonna smoke this, and then I'm gonna make some.
Are you gonna do
out
another
of a
telethon?
2-liter. I don't know if I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna stream. I'm I might just watch videos. Oh.
Do something in the RV.
Maybe I'll do it as a sub goal.
Wait. Will we be out of town?
No, that's a week after.
Oh, okay.
Because 420 is this Tuesday. A week from now.
Oh my god, it's coming up so fast. But yeah, I'm gonna sign off too, guys. Sorry for all the technical difficulties.
Oh no,
I'm typically not on. Well, it's no. I was apologizing to chat. I've never been on this laptop in my life. This is the first time I've ever seen this laptop, and it's really cool. But I don't know why everything disappeared all of a sudden. But thanks so much for watching, guys.
Goodbye. We're signing off. Have a good night, everyone. I'm who should I raid?
Yeah, so thank you everyone so much for joining this week's podcast. I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to let us know what you guys thought of this episode on the Marilyn Manson allegations, and if you would like to see more things like this covered on our podcast. So make sure to go ahead and follow, subscribe. Our Twitters, Instagrams, and other things are all linked in our bio. Thank you so much. This is Audible.
This is Audible.
Okay, I'm rating Ellie Moon. She's doing a subathon. She's gonna beat Ludwig's goal, so bye guys.
Oh wow.
Bye.